All right, it looks like I am live, finally. Sheesh, that took forever. Sorry to keep everybody waiting. So, how's everybody doing this evening? I'm actually not sure if anybody's currently tuned in, but yeah, hopefully everybody's having a wonderful evening. I'm going to probably goof off and just draw a little bit here and try not to be a boomer too hard. Maybe we'll have some guests pop in this evening. Not 100% sure yet. It's been a little while since I've been live or put a video up at all, for that matter. But that's mostly because I've been busy, you know? Hey, all right. What is up? I got one guest. This is awesome. All right, let's see here now. I'm going to bring up my screen. Wow. Entire screen. Yeah, sure, why not? I'm just going to goof off a little bit here and work on this cover for my comic book until a little bit later on. Pretty sure all these characters that you see in here are going to be crossing over into other realities as well. So, let's see. All right, I am screen sharing. And let's zoom in a little bit.
Let's see.
Oh, eraser.
Thing.
Hey, how's it going, bro?
Holy crap. Ninja? That you? Can you hear me all right now?
Yes, it is. I can.
Huh. Well, hey, nice to meet you. Holy crap, I can actually see myself too.
It's nice to meet you too, finally, in real life. Or sort of.
Well, so to speak. Not that I don't like being a public face, but is there any way to switch that back?
Yeah, you can turn that off by let's see here. There we go. How's that? You should be able to turn your camera off. Up at the top there should be a little camera thing.
How's that?
There you go. There you go. You don't have to be doxing yourself.
Well, as much as I can dox help anyways. Nobody really knows who I am outside the group.
That's all right. Same here. So, how's it going this evening?
It's going pretty good. All good on this end. Just been trying to with pretty much on my own ideas. Maybe when I refine a bit of things, I could add to the Revenges.
That's excellent. I have to say, this whole thing with you guys has been freaking amazing.
Oh man.
You know that?
Oh man, I've been feeling the same thing, honestly.
It's like go ahead.
I was gonna say it's kind of been a while since I've actually been really part of a community of ideas outside of DeviantArt, which I've also kind of been somewhat inactive on.
That's all right. I mean, it's kind of all just kind of blurred, sort of, where I really never expected to be making comics with people. I kind of thought that I'd be just, basically posting art on some website somewhere and hoping that people would reciprocate. And now we've got like a whole community of people that are like, oh, sweet, This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start out with. I got a couple of lists of things because I thought about scripting out this evening because this is actually my first live stream with guests. So
Well,
I
it makes you feel better. It's kind of my first time I've actually been live with anybody in a while.
Well, I'm glad that you're back on live.
Indeed.
And yeah, it's pretty cool to have you as my first official guest. I'll have to make sure I fix the description.
To say what?
Well, I want to make sure I get you in there.
Oh, cool.
Because I was supposed to have possibly Chuck from Sporkman Studios come on, but
oh, for real?
he had yeah. Well, I don't think he's going to make it. He wasn't feeling so hot, so I give him. Yeah, he'll be all right. I think just needs some a little extra rest, and we might have Smackin Kracken come in later. Who knows? And
Smackin Kracken.
Yeah, Smackin Kracken. You've heard of him on Twitter?
If I have, I'm not sure it was by Smackin Kracken.
Well, he's done some pretty neat art out there. He actually did some Sporkman art.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he might pop in.
Oh, cool. Did he do like
Yeah.
the Sporkman conventions, or is he doing something for like?
No. He just did some fan art.
Ah, I meant to do some fan art for Sporkman. Yeah, the closest thing I did fan art for Sporkman was drawing Gara Riser trying to bend a spork with his mind.
I know. I saw that. It's fine though.
The spork may bend,
hey,
will not break.
That's right. But I'm just doing the ash can. It's not like I was the original artist or nothing on Sporkman, but
still a feed onto itself.
Sport gave me the chance to do the ash can, and yeah, I think that's going to be really fun to do.
If I was a little better in sequential art, I'd happily take on an ash can and roll.
Heck yeah, that's one of the things. It's like, and then yeah, quite possibly we'll have a little something in the works of our own here.
Sure.
I don't know how much we can actually divulge on the project, but we can be very what's the word? Why do you? Oh, shoot, I'm bad with words. Kind of sneaky about disclosing stuff.
Oh, I understand. I pretty much kept the whole revenge thing pretty close to cuff.
Now we can certainly talk about the Revengers because yeah, that's a pretty fun property. Or anything else. We got. I actually had some topics here, like for instance, your favorite video game of all time, or what you might want to see in comics or movies, or actually, I was thinking, should we try and keep Halloween going, just because it's fun?
Oh, all pretty good questions. I'd be happy to answer. Well, as far as Halloween goes, I had an initial idea of kind of showcasing some of the other characters I created, the ones that fall into more of the horror hero / demon slayer variety.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Like I said, I may not have much as far as completed work, but I have tons of developing concepts I've been piecing together gradually all this time.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, matter of fact, I think I might have shown you guys a couple of them on the DMs.
I think so. And yeah, I'm digging a bunch of those characters. If they're going to be you know, a crossover type deal, yeah, it'll be fun uh putting it in, you know, like sequential stuff.
I
And I
agree.
was actually thinking, you know, we could do little short stories and whatnot throughout.
Huh, I can always try my hand at that.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, do it up if you want. And by the by, so I can tell you in person, the group pick that you did was freaking great.
Oh man, and I'm really glad you guys enjoyed that. I will admit some of the parts of there I did kind of have to improvise since I've only seen like sketched out lines of some of the characters,
I know, yeah, most of them are just black and whites.
and I also wasn't sure if if that was like the main costume most of the team was wearing or just their casual clothes. So I did kind of have to just sort of improvise based on what I knew of each character.
Well, I'm thinking that yeah, maybe at one point maybe we can all have like matching uniforms, but they'll probably get all messed up, and then that'll be the end of the matching uniforms for a while until we get new matching uniforms, and then we'll have new matching uniforms.
That does
And
sound
we can
cool.
just yeah, kind of like the X-Men did throughout the years, and kind of revamp the costumes a little bit whenever we feel like it.
I
You know,
actually
if
did have
somebody has a cool, what's that?
I was gonna say I actually meant for that to be something of a all right riser, no matter because the idea was that his costume was kind of part of a set, but I thought it'd be hilarious at times when like the group have to get dressed in uniform or in disguise and stuff. The scarf and the helmet would always kind of be visible to his character.
Yeah, like he's got a
like,
fedora on top of the helmet.
like you can't part with the scarf and helmet. Helmet. The guy feels pretty much naked without him when he transforms. Well,
It'll be
that and the
sweet.
helmet is kind of it is technically a weapon. The helmet's supposed to like amplify psionic powers, kind of like Mento from the Doom Patrol.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I kind of thought about that too.
Yeah, I thought. I won't lie. Of all the character characters, I always sorry about that. Dude. Sorry about that. Kind of the reason I don't talk to all of them. I got a bit of a speech impediment.
Oh, that's fine, man.
Yeah, might
I
have
have a
noticed a
little
few
girl
pauses.
that just popped in here. No, no, no. Don't touch the computer. Tut, tut, tut. But I can't really like mute myself this time because this is my stream. Stop,
I understand. Hello over there.
little girl. You are not funny. You are being very much trying to steal the show.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to get that candy.
Yeah, I know. Halloween's not fair because you got to share all the candy.
The child
You need a
demands the
piece of
candy, sir.
candy. You can have a bite of the candy. You're not getting this whole thing. You need to go to bed. There you go.
Sleep is essential for the growing youth.
It's true. You need to get yourself some sleep, little girl. Oh, I see how it is. Go to sleep.
The computer decrees it.
Tell you what, wait until you have kids. It's the toughest adventure ever.
I won't lie. I won't lie. Kids actually kind of scare me to an extent. For some reason, they always want to beat me up.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm like constantly attacked by children. Then again, I consider it training for my son.
Yeah. Also, I have a lot of younger cousins, so it kind of comes with the territory.
So.
Actually, speaking of old, but yeah, like I was saying earlier, of all the characters from Doom Patrol, I was kind of bemused by the character Mento.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Actually,
like, yeah, he was like the
yeah, go
unlikely
ahead, tell me.
fourth member of the Doom Patrol. But the only reason he was ever around was because he wanted to impress the Elastic Girl.
Hey, I gotta give some shout outs to the people who showed up for the stream tonight. Sierra Whiskey. I've been a little busy, bro. Um, and I got Blind Savage, E93 in the chat as well. I wanted to give them some shout outs. Say thanks for showing up, guys. This is great.
Oh, holy moly!
I've got.
Chat here?
Hmm,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah. Oh, it's all good, man. No, I mean, on the video they're watching.
Oh, cool. Because it's pretty much just a screen on my end. So
Yeah.
like a chat. Where's the chat?
If you, I don't know how to.
So I kind of new. Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of new to chat. New to chat in
All
this
right,
format. I'm usually just the guy typing on the screen.
Oh, it's all good. I'm glad that you showed up. For most of you guys that may not know, I've got NeoStar Productions is generally the screen name that you'll see him under with me tonight. And we're just kind of goofing off and talking some comics and I don't know, just having fun, really. Like, for instance, we'll say, what's your favorite horror movie? You know, since Halloween just ended.
Yeah, boy, that's a tough one. Horror movie, at least. I suppose it's a toss up between the Tales of the Crypt movie Demon Night. You ever seen that one?
I have, I believe. Is that the one where the dude's got like the thing on his hand and
Yeah, it's like the chalice of demon blood. He's trying to keep the demon from invading that boarding house in the desert.
yeah, I have seen that. That
That's
is a
one of my
good
first
movie.
favorites. And I suppose my second favorite after that would be the Puppet Master series.
Actually, that's a pretty good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, those puppets were badasses.
Oh yeah. First they were evil, then actually I wouldn't really say evil, but rather instruments of evil, and then they ended up turning into practically superheroes almost.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, the Puppet Master was like a good guy. He was using the puppets to like protect him and his friends from like actual Nazis. Because you got to specify that nowadays. and even like I think an Egyptian god or something like that.
There were some crazy villains up in there.
Oh yeah.
I think some of my favorites were like the Hellraiser movie, the first one. I like the first one a lot. And the Cenobites, like they were so freaking cool.
The Cenobites?
Yeah, did you ever see Hellraiser?
I've heard of Hellraiser, but I don't think I've ever actually seen it, sadly.
Oh, it's all right. You'll get a chance, I'm sure. There's like 10 of them out by now.
Yeah.
The first one is probably the best one.
They usually are.
You ever heard of Pinhead?
Oh yeah, Pinhead. Yeah,
box.
tall, white,
Yeah,
tall,
yeah,
pale face, covered in needles.
yep, yeah. That's the guy. Like,
yeah.
those movies were just so like creepy but like not necessarily like. I mean, they were certainly scary and gory, but like I don't know, they were still kind of fun.
I can see that. I meant to check those out actually.
Well, if you're a horror fan at all, I think you'll be pretty happy.
Oh, certainly. I'm actually pretty big. I won't lie. I do scare easily. I will admit, but at the same time, I'm also fascinated with the occult and supernatural. so it's kind of well, kind of a guilty pleasure, I suppose.
Blind Savage says he saw the first Hellraiser movie. It was crazy as hell and disturbing. No pun intended. Um, if you guys didn't know, if hey, is it cool if I pump up your comic, Blind Savage?
Oh, by all means.
Well, he's got a comic. I'm not sure if he's ready to. You know what? Hey, you want to jump in here, Blind? I'll send you a link in the DMs if you want. He's actually a really good dude. I would not mind having him in here. So, all right, I'm going to send you the link here. All right, give me 1 second. There it is. There it is. Link is sent.
All righty.
So he'll probably jump in here with us in a second, and he can actually talk about, well, whatever, and I don't know, just have fun. Continue to have fun. So,
and now we play the waiting game.
my next favorite horror movie was the first Dawn of the Dead. That would be the
with the zombies.
Yeah, the zombies, and they were all the first one where they were all living inside of a mall.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever see that one?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure I have. When they're like a scene.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was like a scene when this one guy got pulled into the elevator and they were just disemboweling him. Choke out him.
Yeah.
Choke out. That's some.
Yup.
Those are some ballsy last words to say when you're getting eaten a lot. Yeah, you better choke on that small intestine.
Freaking, yeah, I have to say, like, those old ones there like that, and the follow-up was Day of the Dead. Both of them were pretty good. I actually liked the story of Dawn of the Dead a little bit more because it's supposed to take place around here in Pennsylvania, in Philly, and I thought that was pretty fun.
Oh man!
So it kind of gave me a connection to the movie.
That sounds cool. I don't think I can recall a horror movie that takes place in Illinois.
Oh, I'm sure there's got to be at least a couple.
You think they would have had a Children of the Corn set up here at some point?
Yeah, there you go, Children of the Corn.
Because they could only go for Children of the Soybeans or something, however scary that sounds. I'm not sure how scary soybean children would be.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know. The soy is pretty scary. I've seen some pretty scary things come from the soy. But we won't speak of the soy here. We'll try and keep it soy free over here. Apparently. Well, I will go ahead and hype up Blind Savage's comic for him because apparently the link isn't working correctly, which doesn't surprise me. I am a boomer. I will try and copy this one more time and see if I can shoot it to him here one more time. I don't know. Being a boomer stinks.
I feel you. Personally, I'm just not that techno savvy.
Heck no, I'm terrible at this.
Then again, I'm also very out of practice using chat, so there's also that. I mean, most I ever do on chats these days is usually on the message, the DMs and stuff.
Well, let's see here now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm terrible with tech, and I would tell you what, if it weren't for Sporkman, I wouldn't have this stream going right now. I owe it all to him. In fact,
Yeah,
he
Sporkman's a pretty good dude.
heck yeah, he helped me figure out all the little details and the little jazzes where you can send stuff and links and whatnots, and there's the screen share thing so that I can do the drawing whatnots. So I can zoom out and zoom in on the characters or whatever.
Oh yeah, about those characters.
All right. Well, I guess you kind of figured the center character is your friendly neighborhood ninja. The one just underneath his right arm is his son, Bub. The one over his that's his right arm. Above his right arm is Technowax. That's actually the guy who I get all my music from, because he does royalty-free music. So whenever you're doing a video and you need some background music or something like that, he's got like 1,000 songs ready to go for people, and it's all royalty-free. I always try and make sure I leave a link, but yeah, you can use it for whatever projects you want. And so I asked him one day, because he was doing a live stream, just in the chat. I was like, "Hey, you mind if I make a superhero out of you?" Right? And he's like, "Go for it." And I was like, "Sweet." And therefore, Technowax was born, the superhero.
Awesome. Once again, the animation. I'll have to give him a
Heck yeah. Yeah, just look him up. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure any of the videos that are on my channel that have music, the later videos all are probably going to have a link to his channel. So, but these are kind of characters from my little community comic that I had started. And actually, Numbing is one of the first people that ever was like, "Hey, that's a good idea you could use," and he gave me Clay McTaggart to use, and that's pretty much how Numbing and I met. As I don't know if he was watching one of my videos or something, or we got in contact on Twitter, but yeah, so that's where that pic, actually my profile pic for Twitter. Let me see if I can. There it is. Photos. I got an album set up of fun stuff here. Let me see.
Man, Sporkman just gets all the ladies, doesn't he?
He sure does. That guy. I'll tell you. Is this the one? Yeah, I think this is the one.
I won't lie, off the record. I won't lie, off the record. Garza would totally be a Sporkman fanboy.
Heck yeah. This is the first one for the community comic I did with well, it will be a cover. I want to redo the top lettering, but you got Ninja and Clyde there.
The dynamic duo of the Revengers.
And here's one I did of Jack Irons, your friendly neighborhood ninja, and Cyberfrog.
You know, to do fan art of a lot of these kids.
Well, fan art's pretty fun to do. Here's some Sporkman concepts I was toying around with. You got Lady Sporked on the left-hand side of the screen, and you got Future Sporkman in the background there, and just regular Sporkman. Maybe you got Tech Sporkman.
Future is now, thanks to Sporks.
Yes. Let's see what else. The profile pic. Now there's a fun logo I came up with for Spork.
That is actually pretty metal.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets a giant vinyl decal made of this and puts it on the front of his car. Whatever car it has, even if it's a Mini Cooper. will just make that car that much better.
Watch the skies as the Sporkman flies. Sporkman flies. Maximize. Sorry, I was just thinking back to an old cartoon I used to watch, something called Dragonflies and stuff.
Oh my God, I remember that show. But I mean, I remember of it. It was like that helicopter dudes.
Yeah, it was like those helicopter fighters that rode on dragons and stuff. They had like this tour where you pulled the cord and they like shot up in the air and just whirled down. I won't lie. I was in love with that theme when I was younger. It just sounded so. It was like I almost want to say it was like almost heavy metal like, but it was kind of soft in a way. It was weird.
Oh, and we've got Smackin Kracken that just joined us.
The one and only.
Heck yeah. How's it going, bro?
Not much. Got all showered up and just relaxing. You know, unwinding after a long day on the job. Same old, same old.
Oh, right on. Oh, right on. That's cool.
So how have y'all been?
Oh, not bad myself. Just having fun on this live stream, thanks to Sporkman Studios.
Praise be to sports.
Yes.
I still find it really funny that from time to time I'll still see my fan art of Sporkman all over Twitter. It's that one where he's giving the thumbs up and he's got kind of like the huge package packing down south, if you know what I mean. That's my bit of fan art, and it's kind of fun seeing that every now and then.
I expect nothing less from Sporkman.
Yeah, Kracken here, he's a heck of an artist, actually.
Oh, you do me too much credit.
Well, oh man, you're good. I mean, there's certain things that I just have no clue as to how to get right. Like you have perfect lighting effects. Like every time you do something, then you get that light effect going. It's like spot on.
Yeah, I'm not that great with light effects myself.
I still feel like I kind of half-ass it myself. But if I did have to say one thing that I'm not too confident myself on, and that's doing multiple characters in a single piece. And you, Ninja, seem to be pretty good at that.
Well,
yeah, I kind of deal with that too, actually. I just got to put all my characters in individually.
For me, it's like that would take way too long.
Well, I think about it, and well, the thing that I always think of when I'm drawing a panel or whatever is the action as best as I can or whatever. Well, I guess that group shot's not very action packed.
Well, still, when you nah, I don't want to mention too much of the the PTSD project. So keeping my lips.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Keeping my lips sealed on that one.
We can hint at what is and.
Well, no, it was just namely when you did that group shot, that was pretty good. That's all I was going to say about that.
Actually, now I think that you mention it, I have been curious about something other than myself. Oh, I could never, as much as I love to start making my own comics and even now more with the Revengers, I'm just like, Ninja, how do you go about creating the panels in the first place? How do you know which panel to create and what to immediately put in as you do so?
Well, first you got to kind of think of what's happening throughout the page, and I, truth be told, yeah, I generally script something out a little bit before I go paneling, and then I try and think of what's going to be the most dynamic shot, like from a director's perspective, like, and also you always want to put your perspective points in when you're putting panels together. Like, let me see if I can bring that up real quick. I have a thing with perspectives in it that I did. I think Kracken might have seen this, but since it was reject it anyway. I can show it here. But like, so here, let me just do this, do this, do this. Is that working? Screen share. Come on, go on.
You know, now that you mentioned
Share.
now that you mentioned like focus points, I think almost all the pictures I draw have the exact same one almost. I don't think I ever really alternate my focus points. Need to work on that.
Can you guys see this?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The collection of hallways. Yeah, I can see it. Hallways.
Like there's always a pinpoint that I put in there somewhere, and then I draw my lines off of it. Like, shoot, where's that grid picture? Give me 1 second here.
Well, that's one of the glories about working with Clip Studio is that there is a built-in function to that program where you can set up vanishing points and actually set up that grid.
All right.
Yeah, and it's I've been using that program for about I don't know 4 years.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, what you got right there. That's 1 point perspective in that first panel there at the top.
Son of a gun. There. Now it's back. Oh, come on. Boomerang again.
Dude, you need to organize all your pictures. You just got like this random collage of shit.
Well, I actually just uploaded all this crap yesterday.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. Yeah, I was gonna say there's like a cluster ton of folders of things I draw and use as reference and whatnot.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! I got the ass ton of subfolders.
Matter of fact, I have like two, maybe 3 or 4 folders dedicated to the GS Avengers.
Make sure that none of the porn shows up.
Yeah, that would be quite unfortunate.
I'm pretty sure I made sure I didn't upload any of that.
It's okay. I'm hip. I'm open minded.
Yeah, there we go. Here's the one.
It doesn't involve ants.
There.
Okay.
Like, you see that, Stefan? Yeah, like those grid lines there definitely helps when you're doing a drawing. That's
I actually do have some grid paper. I should give that a try at some point.
Well, I find it's best to start with your own vanishing point, and then you go from there. And if you want, go check out Ethan Van Sciver's channel. He has a really, really good tutorial on one-point perspective. And
I'm quite familiar with Ethan Van Sciver's how-to videos, but for some reason I never get around to actually watching them. I'm actually kind of ashamed about that.
Oh, it's okay. I don't really watch much of his stuff either, especially when you got the live streams that are like 3 or 4 hours long.
Yeah, I usually I kind of use that as background noise from time to time.
Yeah.
I don't actually sit on the main ones.
Yeah. It's like I like having background noise, but 3 or 4 hours is just kind of pushing it. I'd rather it's like somebody somebody could honestly really blow up their channel if they just made like highlight reels of all the live streams.
Probably.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. Like, I was going to suggest going back and watching some of his like brutally honest portfolio reviews. Those are really good too.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen like 1 or 2 of those actually.
It's funny. Yeah, go for it.
Like a DC versus Star Wars comic or something.
Well, what was it? I watched. I don't think I finished the full video though. There's no way I'd have the courage to submit a portfolio to a professional like Ethan Van Sciver. That I know that would crush me.
Yeah, I've kind of avoided that myself.
If anything, I actually was thinking to myself, how could I get a portfolio to send to him? But he's way too busy to even bother with him anymore.
Oh yeah.
At least not publicly, anyways.
The little pointers and the little tips that he was given about the panels and perspective, that's what really intrigued me, because I don't mind criticism, because my best friend, anytime I have something to show him, he rips it apart, like just to make sure I know if there's anything that I need to improve on.
Yeah, I actually don't mind criticism personally. It's just that I don't really. It's just that sadly there's not a lot of artists in my immediate vicinity for me to like properly judge on. I mean, people do generally like my work, but mostly in the sense that, well, actually I'm not entirely sure what actual sense. I just generally like it. Makes me happy, but I also kind of want to do a little better than what I am now at the moment.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of my best and favorite tools was How to Draw That Marvel Way, the 1978 and 1984 edition.
Which year edition?
That
1974 to 79 to 84. 79 to 84 edition. That is like one of the very best tools.
Oh, Buscema?
Yes, that's the one.
Huh. I was gonna say, I think I had a copy around.
It goes through it goes through like, say, the best action poses, the best angles, the best, the 1-point perspective, how to set up your dynamic panels, where you would want to put your background or your inks or whatever. I have to say I'm not a big fan of heavy inks. Like, I don't like to do it just because I think it takes away from some of the other small details that you can put in.
Yeah.
So I'm not
same here. I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I try to avoid using actual like pen when I draw. I usually do regular pencil sketches before I like fix it up digitally.
Yeah. What program do you use, by the by?
And just an old version of Photoshop I had for almost a decade now. I didn't really make a lot too often, so I kind of just stuck with the same software for a while.
Yeah, well, truth be told, same here. I've been using Sketchbook Pro since you had to pay for it. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it was like, I don't know, at least $100 or something like that.
Oh, okay,
maybe it was less, but now it's a free program that you can just get on your phone, apparently.
Yeah, Adobe Photoshop Element 6.0.
Yeah, I used back when I got my first Wacom or Wacom, I don't know what they call it. Anyway, my first Bamboo tablet, that came with a very basic version of Photoshop, and I used that for a good long while. But then that's when I kind of started doing my research about other programs, and then that's when I came across Manga Studio, which is now called Clip Studio, and that is made specifically for the manga, the comic artist, because you can set up a vector layer, which is what I use for my inks, or quote unquote inks, because what's really cool about that is you can dynamically, I'm sorry, I'm using flowery language, but anyway, you can increase the width of your lines. So like, let's say, for instance, because one of the things a small little, when I pick up some of the how to draw books, you pick up hits and kernels in places, and one thing that came across in the Comic Artist Guide to Inking, I think it was, I can't remember the title, but it generally, when you ink, whatever side of the subject is facing the light source, you want that line to be thinner, and you want the side of the shadow to be thicker, to kind of convey that sense. That's why there's a very subtle art to inking that not many people would know. But anyway, in that vector layer, you can do that. And I'm a very heavy-handed person. I got real thick lines. That's something I'm still trying to work on. But in a vector layer, you can increase or decrease the thickness of your lines. And not only that, if you're into the manga art style and you want to kind of emulate what you read, with all the screen tones, that's another built-in function that you can have. You can put in screen tones rather than have to search for the raw materials online and, you know, Photoshop that in. It's automatically built into it. And the program itself, the middle grade option is actually fairly cheap. I think it's like only $60 if I'm not mistaken.
Huh. I was gonna say, well, I do certainly love manga about as much as I enjoy comics to a degree.
Oh yeah, what was it? The first manga that I actually really started reading was, of course, Dragon Ball Z, and after that, just kind of, you know, from one thing to another. So
yeah,
that's cool.
I'm actually pretty open to learn different styles personally.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually had like a whole sort of dream list of art styles I wish I've always wanted to learn how to adapt and stuff.
No, yeah, and you know, the thing is that if you got a favorite art style, you know, I say kind of don't like copy the drawings, but, you know, just kind of find that artist and just kind of look through their catalog of work and try and emulate that style. Because I actually did that once with the Japanese artist Yoshitaka Amano. He did the art for the Final Fantasy games. Look him up. His work is really gorgeous, and I love how all his characters just kind of have like this very moody kind of dream-like a look to them. So that's when I kind of like took a look at that style and I tried to emulate it a little bit, and I made a bunch of modern Final Fantasy style art for like Star Wars, and I actually did one of Sailor Moon actually. But it's fun to, you know, try and emulate an art style. Don't rip off artwork, but try and emulate style, and that kind of helps you. It'll help, you know, with certain things. It's like, oh, I like how that artist draws the eyes. Let me try and do that, and then you get better at drawing the eyes. It's another way to kind of help improve yourself, as it were.
Oh no, don't you bring that cat bank in here. You're supposed to be sleeping in your bed. Sorry, I have a tiny girl that just came in here.
I need some money.
No, you need to go to bed. Already asking me for money. There. Take this and you go to sleep.
No, you can dream of money, child.
Yes. Dream of all the money in the world. And you can give it to your cat bank. Go get some sleep. I love you. Tell you what, wait until you guys have kids. The cutest moments happen sometimes.
I imagine, but that's still probably a ways off for me. But
don't rush. Don't rush it.
Oh no, definitely not. But it's one of those things. It's like when you work customer service, you tend to see like the worst, and that just kind of puts you off from ever wanting to have kids.
Yeah, that's why we don't return things. But so earlier I had asked this to Stefan. I figured I'd ask you too. What's your favorite horror movies? Give me some of your top two, like, or three, whatever, some of your best ones that you really enjoyed.
Oh geez, man, I do not like horror. If I had to pick a top one or two that technically fall into that genre, I think I would have to. The only one I can think of is Alien. That's about the only one that I could say is legitimate horror that I've watched. It's just, it's not my thing. I don't like having the piss scared out of me.
Yeah, I won't lie. the Aliens movie is actually one of the few movies that legit freaks me out. And actually, it's not even because of anything the alien itself actually does. it's those face hugger things. Those things are giving me the creeps.
That's the worst part. And the
face hugger is my waking nightmare.
No, that is. And I remember seeing somewhere that Ridley Scott, when he was making the movie, he centered the very concept of it, drew inspiration from rape and that concept. And that's what kind of made it that much more horrifying when you view it with that lens. That's kind of the theme, the allegory, as it were, of the aliens themselves, like the face huggers or the non-consensual, et cetera, et cetera. I won't get into too much, but it's that, and it's all the more very horrifying.
Latching on your face and impregnating your guts. Yeah, that is terrifying.
And then it's like they freaking burst out of the chest. Oh god, that's terrible. I don't like horror. I really don't like horror.
Although you know what though, although I do agree with all of that, Spaceballs was the one time that actually did make me terrified. Something like that. Only because the thing turned into friggin' Michigan J Frog right afterwards. Hello, my baby. Hello, my baby. Hello, my tongue gal. Send me a kiss by mile. Baby, my heart's on fire.
Oh god, that movie is such a classic.
It's the one time I don't stutter.
Oh man, they're speaking of Mel Brooks movies, you want to know one movie that they could never make in today's society is Blazing Saddles. You'll never find a movie like Blazing Saddles in today's society.
It is sad but true. We would never see Blazing Saddles again, even if it was Dave Chappelle. I think they made a joke about that in another one of his movies. It was like Robin Hood Men. And she was like, a black sheriff? What? It worked in Blazing Saddles.
Oh man, that one I have not seen. I confess.
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. What was it? There's that other one. There's another one too. What was it? History of the World, I think. That's another one I haven't seen. Or maybe I'm confusing that with Monty Python. I don't know.
Yeah, that was Monty Python.
That one I've only seen the Holy Grail, I'm afraid.
That's okay. That's usually the one people like the most.
Oh, jeez.
So are you trying to imply that coconuts migrate?
Oh, jeez. What is the air velocity of an undulating swallow?
I don't know. Oh. They would fell out my chair. Oh, snap.
And now, holy cow, got Slick Jimmy in here.
Hey!
Slick.
How you guys doing?
How you doing, bro?
Well, I'm sitting here eating some steak, and I was just on Ben Hennessy's stream. I thought I'd pop into you guys too.
Oh,
wow, thanks.
Man,
got anything to share about the campaign?
We're about 28% done, 2,800, which is real nice. I'm really pleased.
No, that's pretty good for what? Only 2 days now, right?
Yeah. And end of the second day. I'm really quite happy with how it's going.
Well,
yeah, it's looking good for sugar, I should say.
Well, I have been at this. If you look at the first post about it on my Twitter, it was September 17th. I said, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. So I've been at this for a while.
No, yeah, that's kind of, I think, what's really working for you is you dropped it, and then you just can you've been building it. Up until now it's been, pardon the pun, but up until now it's been foreplay.
Yeah, I've been diddling people a little bit, and now I've taken the plunge, as it were. And so I'm really pleased. I'm trying to get myself on Ethan's stream. I know that that might not be easy, but it will give me visibility.
Oh,
and I want to. I'll be on probably Tugs eventually because he and we get along all right. And then I did something with before I launched with Edwin, and we talked indie stuff. And Edwin's a good guy, man. I'll see if I can get. I'll see if I can get on Doug TeNapel, see if I can have some philosophical and religious arguments with him, and talk my book, and see if he'll try to, convert me away from my heathen, pornographer ways or whatever he thinks I am.
That'll be a fun show.
I think it would. I'm not a dull individual once you get me going. So anyway,
yeah.
How you guys doing?
Doing all right. Just having fun tonight. We were talking a little bit here. Yeah, you dig horror movies, Slick?
I dig good horror movies. And I know that good is a elastic term. It depends on what you're doing. I actually like schlock stuff. Things that are like kind of unreal, like say Freddy Krueger. I'm just like, meh. But like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was kind of built around a real event, I'm more into stuff like that. Anything that's built, a horror film that is built around kind of real events. I love that stuff because to me history is kind of cool, and the dark things in humanity's soul are often far more scarier to me than something somebody makes up out of whole cloth. And things like Jason, I'm just like, whatever. But anything that's delves into the psyche of man. Have you guys ever seen a movie called what's it? It's a French film where they flay the skin off of this person. Martyr. You guys ever seen that?
No, but it sounds familiar.
It's messed up. Well, I mean, anything by Gaspar Noé, no, I don't care for too much. It is very real, very visceral, but the horror of it is just too real for me. Irreversible is a movie that I guess a lot of people know, where Monica Bellucci is she's raped in a tunnel by like a gay. He's like a homosexual who hates women because he had some reason. But it's one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. It's horrific. It literally is horror, and it's not like classical horror like you said, the Italian like vampire movies and shit, or the cannibal stuff. This is like, it feels like an uncut scene, but he did a thing where he made it look like it was like 13 minutes long. And when I got done with that film, and it's kind of shot non-linearly, I was literally sick to my stomach. I didn't ever want to see it again. But at the time I was a cinephile.
Go on.
No, I don't mean to monopolize. I do that too much anyway.
No, by all means.
But the things like Cannibal Holocaust, it's kind of like a joke, all right? Although it's like horrific shit going on, but it's kind of funny in the same way because you're laughing at the ridiculousness of the horrific stuff you're seeing, But something like Irreversible, I could never laugh. There, even his lighter moments between the couple as things proceed, it was just such a downer. And so when I watch something like Martyrs, which is really quite cool, as opposed to something like the Serbian film, which is just absolutely disgusting. But there you go. And I don't know what you guys were talking about. I mean, you were talking about like Leprechaun or some shit. I'm around
that. Man, Leprechaun.
That's hilarious.
I'm jumping around. But I like Leprechaun. Leprechaun's hilarious. Like it's like Chucky.
Cracks me up, actually.
Anything like that, where it's like tongue in cheek, and people say, "Well, Nightmare on Elm Street is that too," but like it takes itself pretty serious in some of the, especially the first one. I was like, it's good for if you're with a girl and she gets scared and she's clinging to you. I think that's the basic the want of a horror film is to get a woman scared, and then she gets amorous afterwards. You know,
that's the entire point. Yes.
Yeah, seriously. Otherwise, when men are scared by things like the scariest shit that I've ever watched. Literally, is Saving Private Ryan's D-Day scene, you know, where they're on the beaches. That to me it scared the shit out of me. And again, it's not a horror film, but to me, when they interviewed guys who've been there, they said that was the most real depiction they'd ever seen of on film of what it was like. And my grandfather was at Utah Beach, so you know he wasn't at Omaha, but he was at Utah, which was pretty thick too. And that just scares the shit out of me. No wonder my father was in traction for 9 months, you know, because he got shot up. I mean, no wonder. Because when you see that, they did like little details in it, like the tank stoppers that were on the beach, where the flak was coming towards them. They were all silvered from all the bullets that had been hitting them. Yeah, if you watch the film, you're like, holy shit. And then you see people just disappear in a spray of you know, mist. They're gone. And you know, and when they're on the landers, and people are just getting shot to pieces as they offload, and then they're jumping in the water, and then they're sinking, but then the bullets are still hitting them as they're in the water. I was like, holy shit, you know, that's horrific to me. And you watch a regular horror film, you know, it's fun. One of the most horrific thing in a creature feature was I know it's coming, is when you're a Jaws film and you see that head. When you're underwater and then you see that head in the porthole, every time I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Every time that head falls out and the dude's like, oh, I found a shark tooth. All of a sudden, bloop, head. And you know what? To this day, I won't go into the water past my knees.
It is a scary thing. I mean, I've been out in the ocean in deep water, and it's pretty fun. And even so, I mean, like, if you let yourself think about what could be underneath you, you get kind of wigged out, you know.
Yeah.
But I got lucky when I was 8 years old, and we were in Mexico. You know, my dad wanted to go deep sea fishing, and while we were out there, a blue whale showed up, like a pod of blue whales, but the big one like went right by our boat.
Oh wow!
Yeah, lucky little 8-year-old kid. It's like a moving bus that goes by like a boat that's pretty big, and you're like, holy crap, this boat's dinky. Anyway, but blue whales won't eat you. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking right now. You guys go.
No, it's just what I was kind of looping back is, you know, you mentioned, you know, stuff that's, you know, when you watch a movie that you find legitimately disturbing. That kind of brought to mind for me when I saw the movie Changeling with Angelina Jolie. I don't know if any of you have seen that, but that's a movie that like takes place in the 20s. Her kid ends up going missing, and then they quote unquote find the kid, but it's not her son, and the whole movie's about her uncovering the truth behind corruption or whatever. But anyway, it's kind of later on in the movie, there's this kid that comes around and he's a survivor, and what's recounted in the movie is that these kids, you know, were being picked up and rounded up by this guy, and then he would trap them on his farm, and then he'd take them out and chop them up. And that actually was the first time I watched the film, and that actually legitimately disturbed me. I mean,
well, it's a thing you can see happening.
Yeah.
If the story is realer than faker than like some fantastical like monster like Freddy or like Jason, like these unstoppable killing machines, you know, it's scary, but it's not real, you know. But if you see some guy who like, you know, abducts children and has like a cannibal fetish or some shit, that's just, I mean, the world is a messed up place and that could happen.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
I watch Hostel the same way. The Hostel, if you guys have seen it, you know, people call it torture porn.
Oh,
but I can see that scenario taking place. People who have become so inured of their, you know, their pleasure centers have experienced so much because they have all kinds of money, and then they decide the ultimate thrill is this, and they become addicted to that because each time they can do something different, you know. I can see that happening, which, you know, is chilling. And I have to say that was one of the few films that after I watched it, I actually had somebody could say it was a nightmare, but it wasn't something it was like I was watching an extended scene of that hallway scene where he's underneath the bodies and they're passing the doors, and he's seeing into the doors snippets of what's going on. Well, I had this long dream that it just kept going and going. I was going down this long corridor, and my mind was coming up. My twisted, screwed up mind was coming up with new scenarios for each door that I passed that weren't in the film. And then when I woke up, I was like, "Damn, that really affected me." Jeez.
No, I've had nightmares like that too. One time I remember I had a nightmare when I was a kid, and it wasn't prompted by watching any horror movie or anything like that, but it was the weirdest thing because I remember it's like I was watching this TV and there were all these different. It was like a metal grating, a metal floor, but it was on top of this large body of water, and there were all these different holes. So you had a bunch of different pools, and there were these people in there, and they were all getting, pulled under by this thing. And I remember it just freaked me the hell out. And I woke up in a cold sweat, and it's like I never had a nightmare before that point, and it was really weird.
Well, I used to have nightmares when I was a kid quite a bit, and then they kind of just went away. Kind of the end of my teens, they went away. And I had a recurring nightmare where I'm like running. I don't even want to know what I'm running from, but as I look behind me, like the earth and like a big black wave with like spikes and shit is like slowly coming up and like going to collapse over the top of me. And I'm trying to run, and it's like I'm running in like cold molasses. And like slowly this thing just kind of closes on top of me. And as soon as it like closes on top of me, I like wake up and I'm like, holy shit. And that happened over and over and over. And then the other one I had a lot was like nuclear war, because I grew up in the Cold War era, and we knew what could happen. In fact, a lot of us Xers were pretty damn surprised when the wall fell, and we seem to have averted disaster because a lot. I was pretty much, I knew about the Bay of Pigs, and I didn't know about what happened in 1984, how close we came, but it was like it was DEFCON 4 where they, fingers were on the button 2 times, and Armageddon apocalypse was there, and we avoided it, and pretty amazing. But I had dreams of that, looking up towards Salt Lake City from where I live down in Utah Valley, and seeing this mushroom cloud and me running towards the shelter at the elementary school,
Jeez.
Yeah, fucked up shit. But my mom had she was a child during the World War II, and she had dreams of Japanese breaking into their homes and bayoneting her.
Oh wow.
Oh,
yeah. So every era has their thing. I'm sure there's people who have dreams of terrorism and stuff, especially if you live in New York. But
and then you have the other people that no doubt dream that Trump is deporting them and all that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. There's a definable psychosis around him, which I don't get at all. I mean,
I don't either.
I don't get it. I mean, he's not the perfect president by any stretch.
No.
Holy shit, he's not Hitler. I mean, it's like people don't even have to know how to look at history and go, and then weigh it. Does this guy look like Hitler? Does he look like Stalin? Does he look like Pol Pot? No, he doesn't. He's just a businessman, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say: orange man bad.
Orange man bad. I need to get that. I need to get a T-shirt with that on. I do. I need a T-shirt. Orange man bad. Bad.
Oh, geez.
Well, nobody had this kind of problem when, say, Clinton or Obama were in, when any other Democrat was in office. When did anybody get violent at protest because Obama was president, or have rallies with signs of screeching and reeing, "Not my president"?
Well, apparently that did happen, though I don't remember that making national news as much as it does this day.
Well,
but
I never saw the Tea Party get the shit out of people. I saw them screeching,
coverage, though.
and that swift boat sort of controversy, and people saying shit. I mean, it's politics, but like I've never seen it to this this polarization. It's just bizarre to me. It totally is. I don't get it. It's like people are become oblivious to like facts and research and objectivity, and like I said, I don't find everything that Trump does great, but I find what the Democratic Party is doing absolutely deplorable. I mean, to use a word they like to employ. I mean, just because. I mean, you look at the Clinton machine from all the way back to Arkansas. There is some dirty shit corruption going on within that thing from the very beginning. And I would say a lot of it comes from Hillary. If you go and research into that, there are a lot of people in Arkansas talk a lot of shit in Little Rock about the Clintons and what went on, and like the cocaine pipeline going through there, and the deaths that surround that kind of machine. Like there's this just all these people have died around it, and now there's nothing quite concrete or anything, but I did see a comparison to like Reagan and the Bush. Now Bush had a little bit more because he was part of the CIA, but when you look at each president, there's so many around the Clintons, so many people have died, and it's really weird how many people have died around them, and a lot of them are quite close to them. Especially a lot of weird suicides happen around them, which just that alone is odd.
Yeah, like when 4 out of 5 friends are committing suicide.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. People who were in business with them, and like literally, like they can trace they were in business with them, like they just off themselves, quote unquote.
Yeah, double tap to the back of the head. That's how you commit suicide.
And they get in like accidents and shit like that. Like this, it's like a Jessica from Murder She Wrote. When they walk into town, you just bet to get the fuck out because somebody's gonna die. You know what I'm talking about? You ever watch Murder She Wrote? You're just like, if that writer came to town, I would be going on vacation. I'd just be getting the hell out of Dodge. Somebody's dying.
Oh my God.
Well, She Wrote.
Anyway.
You might be talking to kids who don't know what Murder She Wrote is.
I didn't know.
She Wrote was a very long running murder mystery show that went on for like almost, I think, 12 years, and I can't remember the name of the actress right now. No, it was late 80s into that 90s.
Yeah, the show's pretty old at this point. God, I cannot remember her name now.
She was
the lady who played her.
Angela Lansbury.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that show. Yeah, when that came on, I knew to change the channel or just go outside and play.
Yeah, it was like old. It's like old people show. Like it's like Matlock.
Like Matlock. Yeah, they might not know what Matlock is either.
Actually, I do know about Matlock.
I'm bringing up stuff, and they're like, "You're an old man. What the hell are you talking about?" And see, you guys start talking about games. If you guys start talking about games, I'll be like, okay.
So how about that Red Dead Redemption 2, huh?
Oh man, that's one I've seen, and I'm like, oh my, I don't have gaming system or not, but I've seen like the gameplay. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It's great.
It looks like a real life Western. I want that game so bad.
Oh yeah,
a friend of mine I work with, he's like, come over and play, and I'm like, okay, I will, because it looks freaking cool.
Yeah, the best part is I was playing it, I was riding my horse, and I was catching up with the rest of my posse, and the leader of the posse, I pulled up right next to him, and his horse took a shat. It was great.
Oh my God, they put even that kind of realistic dynamic in the game. That's hilarious.
A horse shit simulator.
Have you guys seen that I was like Kotaku or somewhere, or Polygon, this woman says the NPCs in Red Dead Redemption aren't quite real enough because they look programmed after a little while. And I'm like, yeah, it's a game.
So what they expect the NPCs to do in a game?
Yeah, it's like weird. Like of all they were praising all the graphics and shit, but they said, well, they still act like they're NPCs, I'm like, well, we don't have that, so what do you want? Jeez.
Well, what was it? She later, I remember seeing it. Like she later went on to say, it's like, oh, games don't really need players.
Is that the same girl? Is that the same person that wrote that article?
Yeah. Or the very.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. Ansgar put that out.
I saw that tweet and I was like, "What are they talking about? Games don't need players. What is that? You want to watch?" I think Brian from Rag said,
"Game that doesn't need players." Isn't that called a freaking movie? How does that work? You need people to play the games.
Like a game without players is basically a movie. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's watching like a pattern just repeating. What are we talking about?
Exactly. That's the point. And it's like, what? You can't have a game that without a player, and you can't give me that crap that those interactive games that are all based on quick time events, like that one game, Asura's Wrath. I'm sorry. That game is like it's a game that's like from the 360 days. I played it briefly, and it's one of those. It's like the plot is actually pretty cool. It'd make a killer anime, but as a game, it kind of sucks because most of it's cutscenes, most of it is quick time events, and the parts that aren't quick time events are just kind of,
Is it like a choose your own adventure? Is it like you have to find the right path? That sort of shit.
Not even that. See, that would be like a visual novel, but no, this isn't that. It has a clear defined story, and there's only one course to go. You're just going to partake in those few beat 'em up sessions, and the rest will be just quick time events as you watch. And that was very dull and boring.
Yeah,
that's
the most exciting game you don't actually play.
Blind Savage. Blind Savage in the chat says a game without a player is a cutscene.
Yeah, there you go.
That's even better.
There was that
watching vignettes.
Yeah, or there was that other game that I never played, but everyone was saying that it's like just basically a glorified cutscene. That's The Order 1864. That's like that breakout exclusive for the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
I never played it, but apparently that's all it is basically just cutscenes.
So like this is where you start talking. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I'm just agreeing with you because you probably know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know that game either. Sorry.
It's okay. I never played it, so I don't know I barely know what I'm talking about. So,
how would you guys like a Little Girl Lethal video game? How would that be?
Amazing.
Didn't it?
And it's got to be rated very M for nudity.
It's got to be rated M. But the other thing is that you have to find a way to compete because you're stacking yourself up against the likes of games like Bayonetta. You got to compete with that somehow. And
well, I need like at least $200 million to make that game. So
you could start a GoFundMe for it. How about that?
Oh yeah.
Now, would it be a beat 'em up game or a platformer?
I'm a fan of like third person fighters, but like most people like first person. I would have a mix of things like have a racing game and then like have like a story narrative that you had to follow, and then you'd have like you'd fight your way up to like a boss fight, but have like 10 levels of that until you got to the big boss, and then
ever play Saints Row or the Grand Theft Auto style, kind of like that, where you have like a vehicle and
I kind of like Saints Row.
What's the city she lives in? You just build
Lost
that
Peaks.
city.
Yeah,
Lost Peaks. And then you have her run around that map and fight all the bad guys. That'd be a freaking awesome game.
That map would be, if I were to do it like it's laid out. I mean, the city itself is like 100 miles long and 50 miles wide. Plus, there's like these canyons that go off the side of it that are all populated. And then there's a lower level that goes down to like near the mantle of the earth. Like it goes down these catacombs, and then you got like massive skyscrapers that go like over like miles in the air in above ground.
Well, with the way they have, the game set up nowadays, like for instance, the Mad Max video game is got to be at least 100 miles. There's a Mad Max video game out. Yeah.
I'd love to do that, but I mean the intricacy of that would I mean you'd have to create each, like they're called, the sections of the city are called claims, and there's 11 of them. And then there's, like I said, there are canyons, which are kind of like suburbs off the city. And then they're set up into the mountains. They've done like what they call the cracks, but they're also basically where they've mined, but they've also led like galleries and things, and people live up in there. I mean, the city's huge. But all this stuff could be built, but I mean, building it to scale, I don't know. I mean, that's pretty huge.
One other feature that I would want in a game based on that is a variety of costumes. You've got to have lots of costumes.
Oh, she does. See, here's the thing. Like, I haven't discussed this with anybody, so this is something probably most people haven't heard. Her outfit is kind of her school, like a modified thing of her school outfit. But later on, when she gets bonded with this kind of cosmic entity she calls the machine. And like, if you see the onks on her body, the kind of Egyptian-looking symbols, those are the manifestation of that machine on her body. And she basically can like put herself in any outfit, any weapon, any vehicle. She can kind of make it from its energy.
Dude, that is so freaking cool.
That is awesome.
And the thing is, she can do other stuff with it, but she doesn't want to because she's crazy. She knows how close she is to insanity, and it scares her when she like taps into that power, what she wants to do. And so she, through like meditation and controlling herself, she just uses it for kind of mundane things like her weapons and her motorcycle, which she just makes a kind of a copy of what her father collects motorcycles and cars, and it's in like this warehouse. And so she kind of uses that as her templates, and she changes the color a little bit, does a little shift here and there. But as if you can see, like the different versions I've had of Sugar done, they're slightly different, and sometimes, and I don't have a problem with that because she's a girl. She's going to be a bit fashionista, so she'll shift things around how she looks a little bit. So the buttonhole's different, or like the shirt has a little cutout on the back or something like that. So that's something that I wouldn't have a problem with at all in a game. If somebody wanted like multiple stuff, even if they wanted to put her in a little more modest clothing, that's no problem. But I mean, that's not her. But
right, yeah. But one of the things I love in a game is customization.
Yeah, I love the like. There was a WWE game that had like a million different customizations for it, and then like Soul Calibur had like a customizer for like Soul Calibur 4.
Oh, hold on, you play Soul Calibur, bro?
Soul Calibur is the one that, like, if you're gonna play me to any degree of proficiency, that would be the one.
There was the creator in 4 that was pretty good. It got better in 5, and 6 is basically the same as 5, just with a few minor alterations. But definitely that.
I haven't played Soul Calibur 6 yet. I haven't. Like I said, my platform I have is pretty old. Like 360 is the last one I bought.
Wow. Yeah, I'm a bit of a Namco fan myself. Oh, I actually thought of making a crossover for those games in the future. When I actually got good.
I do like Soul Calibur though. I sometimes I get bored with the story. I think they could be better with that. But I always like the motion and just playing, and back when I could actually play across the internet. Now you can't with 360 because nobody fucking plays it. So
yeah, it's been a while since I ever played mine.
You know what? I'm gonna have to go get a copy of Soul Calibur 4. I didn't know there was such a good character creator on there.
That's really awesome.
My favorite one was the one with Spawn in it.
That was 3, I think.
That was like Soul Calibur 2 and stuff. They had like a different, like a different flagship
really good too.
Console.
Well,
except for I didn't like Link.
What?
I didn't like the one with Link. My nephew had that one. He was like, "Oh man, this one has Link." I was like, "Don't you have an Xbox?"
Yeah, that one was for like
the one with Spawn.
Yeah, that was for like GameCube and stuff. Nintendo had like
Star Wars characters.
Yeah, that was like 4th one, I think.
Yeah, that was 4.
Well, they did the Star Wars characters, and you got one Star Wars character on like Xbox, and then the other Star Wars character on like PlayStation. I was like, what the? I mean, come
yeah,
on.
both of them had Star Killer, and the 360 had Yoda, which is the one that I have, and PlayStation got Darth Vader.
Yeah, Darth Vader. And I was annoyed by that. That
Yeah,
I'd have 2 things like, and they didn't like later on like make it a downloadable, which would have been cool, but they never did that, bastards. So that's the one game I can talk about. Other games have been like, whatever. I mean, I played somewhat. Like, I know a lot of people love Halo and all that, but like, I usually get my ass kicked so fast in Halo, it just becomes annoying.
Yeah, I'm one of the few. Yeah, I'm one of the few people that didn't really get into the Halo when it came out.
Well, Call of Duty is the same way, but I like it a lot more because it's kind of historical. Whereas Halo, you have to get into the story, and I just don't give a shit. Like the same as with Gears of War. I mean, I get tired of getting my ass kicked the entire time, and even if you just play it by yourself, I don't know. I'm just stuck, you know.
What? Playing a first-person shooter by yourself?
No, yeah, but it's like you're sitting at home. I mean, that's the definition of being a loser, playing by yourself. So, like,
yeah, to be fair though, literally the only reason people get those for multiplayer. I don't think I've ever once heard anybody actually talk about Halo or Gears of War's actual main story.
Well, I actually love the story in the Halo games.
Well, I'm sure it's good. I'm just saying.
The only thing that I find really sad is the new Halo 5 garbage.
I have not played that one yet.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. Let's talk about Soul Calibur more. Halo sucks to me now.
I mean,
for real though, Nightmare was a beast.
Nightmare's my
souls. Yeah. I need more souls.
What I do is I'd make some hot chick, you know, like a little skirt, because you know that seems to be my thing. And then I'd put the power of a Nightmare or Siegfried into that, and then just play the game that way because it's enjoyable.
Oh yeah, I do.
There's some of the actions a little bit off because if you make her too small, you have to make her the right size, otherwise it plays a little weird. But you know, other than that.
There was a Mortal Kombat that had for PlayStation 2 that had a really decent character creator, and you could customize all your moves and stuff like that. I think it was Armageddon.
I have a lot of things that I would suggest for a character creator if I was in somebody's team. I would make every article of clothes customizable. Like, you know, like you can mess around with it. You know what I mean? Change colors.
Oh yeah.
And like add decals and textures and shit, you know, and make everything adjustable to what you want, as well as the body, you know, in person. And the one that I really liked, because it was the WWE one where you could like modify their face and the whole thing, and like mess with their eyes and their teeth and their mouth. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff with that. It was amazing. Every company should just use that template for character creator, because it was so layered. You
could make a real sexy sugar for pretty much any of this. Well, from 2 up on the Saints Row games, you can make a real nice looking sugar. I'm sure of it.
Oh yeah, they do kind of have that in Saints Row, didn't they?
They did have that in Saints Row.
Is better for that because they have an awesome character creator and a shit ton of clothes that you can pick from.
Yeah,
I actually made my Slamfest roster on WWE's custom creator.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, we haven't gotten into it with that. If we're talking about, you know, Lost Peaks universe, there are a whole bunch of other characters that haven't been introduced yet. That are, I mean, I push everything over the top. It's always 211. You know what I mean? I crank it up. And I like that. I want memorable characters instead of the banal shit we've been seeing so much.
Oh no kidding.
I mean, really, like it's just amazingly boring what you see in comics now. And I don't know why people dig it. Like when they're making it, why would you want to make something that bores the shit out of people?
Well, that's kind of always been my number one complaint with Marvel. I've never liked Marvel comics because I just get so bored reading them. Now, to be fair, add clarification, That's 2000s Marvel, like early 2000s Marvel. Quesada, just like during Civil War and stuff. I tried reading Captain America comics, and I'm like, everybody's standing around talking. Whereas I pick up a Jeff Johns Green Lantern, and holy shit, this is fun. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
they lost something like. Sorry.
I'm sorry. All right. Oh, the part of me kind of really dislikes Civil War because so much asinine stuff just seems to have happened during those kinds of stories. Almost like they have to constantly justify the kind of story they're in throughout the whole time.
Well, about 2002, I started to just get kind of like I flipped through some books. I used to buy a lot in the 90s. I have quite a few long boxes full of 90s shit, But after that, I got really picky, and it's over the last 2 decades, for 18 years, I've gotten like I'm like I don't buy anything from Marvel anymore. I just don't. There's been a few storylines that were kind of cool, and then a couple of one shots that were all right, that were and some were pretty good, but most of it's like it's slowly gone down. Like they forgot like dynamic posing, like how draw the Marvel way. You ever seen that book?
I have it. Yeah. Yes, that's my go-to tool. I keep telling everybody about that book. Are you talking about the old school one?
Right, the old school
copy of it.
Yes,
what happened to that? That draw the Marvel way, dynamicism. Where did it go? Why did they stop using it? Why is it that they can't draw even banal like regular panels where people are doing things? There are ways to tweak your characters that draw in the eye, and they've lost it.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Well, I think
Marvel doesn't encourage merit anymore.
No, they don't. And I think kind of, it may have been, this is just me speculating here, but you had the speculator boom in the 90s, and just it was a big bubble, and that burst. Everything kind of went down the toilet. And my conspiracy theory is that I think Marvel tried to break away from that, because Marvel was kind of leading the charge in the 90s. They are the ones that had X-Force, These X-Men, they were leading that.
X-Force was dope, man.
They were leading the charge on that, and I think they were trying to distance themselves from the 90s action extreme and trying to go for a more dark, dramatic, heavy storytelling and that kind of thing.
I don't mind gritty stories, but like and I have to admit, there are some things in the 90s where I look at some of the covers and some of the interior art, and I'm like, okay, because they draw it a lot on Liefeld, his style, because he got really popular there. And at the time I was like, I never was really drawn to him. I'm more like Lee, Keown, like Silvestri, those cats. And there's a whole bunch of others, that came out of that kind of look. And Keown, I mean, not Keown, Rob Liefeld was never one that I really super dug, but a lot of people did. I mean, he was on a freaking Levi's commercial, and talking about how great he was, and I'm like, all right. And I never pointed out the small feet back then, but I mean, it's obvious that he had some anatomy problems, so he just kind of he fudged it, and he covered it with a lot of detail stuff that just kind of drew the eye away from his anatomy problems. Because if you look at some of his women, they're like, he puts them in these awkward poses, and he makes the boobs big and like a wasp waist, and they do look odd. But again, it's a stylized thing.
Wasp, like the original Wasp.
Yeah, but like, I mean, the thing is like, he would have drawn a wasp probably looking like a damn wasp, just to
I'll still take that over the current Wasp.
I'd take. I don't even like to talk about the stuff that's out today because it just makes me freaking sad. I've been on other streams, and I'll start talking about it, and I'll just like, I gotta stop talking about this, because I either want to scream about it, or I just want to start going. I just get sad. So I want to dwell on my book and other people's books that I see out there right now, because there's some good shit that's coming out right now. I'm really pleased with what I see.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my goodness, yeah. You know, this is the thing is, yeah, I've given up on Marvel and DC at this point, and I've just gone completely independent. I mean, there's so many of us out here that have projects and little things like they got stuff online, like Tyler Tykade. He's got stuff on Tapas. Is that, if I'm saying that right? Um, Cody from Jack Irons, he's got stuff on Tapas. I mean, you can go and check out lots of people's stuff, uh, and read some good stories and have good art in there and just enjoy yourself and not worry about it. And hell, you know, I've given up and I just make my own characters at this point.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of what I've been going about lately.
I mean, like I just still get some things from DC because I know I've kind of interacted with some of the artists over the years. I used to be a huge Bill Sienkiewicz fan, and now it's broken my heart. But there are things like Liam Sharp. Liam Sharp keeps his head down and he just does good things, and he doesn't get into the whole thing. And I like Liam. He's a good guy. I like Sean Gordon Murphy, and I like Ennio Marini. Excuse me, Enrico Marini. He's those guys. I just dig them. They're awesome, and I'll buy their stuff. I will put money into them because they're them. You know.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy the Terrifics comics that DC had for a while, but after what Jeff Lemire said, I just couldn't go with it anymore. I mean, I haven't seen a Fantastic Four story in ages, man, and and it was pretty much scratching that itch for me for a while.
Did you like the Terrifics?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
I think it was alright.
I actually did kind of like it, honestly.
I was okay with it. I wasn't like blown over by it. Like I said,
I mean, I wasn't either. It's just
like Batman White Knight has blown my mind.
I guess I like the Terrifics primarily because the Fantastic Four was essentially my first Marvel series. Yeah. The Fantastic Four is what got me into Marvel long before I even heard of Spider-Man.
Well, and I didn't like this next. I didn't like what they just did. I just don't like it. But I mean, if they do, that's cool. I'm not a big fan of this new ideas that they're throwing out there with Franklin and stuff. It's just I don't like it. But yeah,
I understand. I understand. No worry. I have the Fantastic Four is still dead to me on the Marvel side. I have not really gotten back into like there any new stuff involving them.
Well, I mean the old school stuff, like I used to read it in like 70s.
Oh yeah, of course.
And like I just love 70s stuff, like the old school 70s stuff. That's a good era to get into. I mean, I'm telling you, if you haven't looked into that era, and then it moves into the 80s. I
really enjoyed Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol's great, man.
Yeah. Any of you guys ever read those Challengers of the Unknown books? Any of them?
Not me.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Challengers of the Unknown. Four guys.
Yeah, it was basically
one of those little pulp comics from back then.
I'd look into it. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, that's an old. That was an old one. He just name dropped there.
I suppose I only really know. I suppose I only really know about Challengers of the Unknown from the Justice League New Frontier, and because I think they had like a cameo in one of the old Doom Patrol comics.
Yeah, you see, the thing is when it is Challenge of the Unknown, that's a DC comic, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's why I don't know, because I'm an old Marvel fanboy, and then there were some things in like I do Batman, and then when Lobo rolled around, I knew about that, and I knew a little bit about like Green Lantern, Green Arrow, but for the most part, I didn't get like a lot of like Wonder Woman or Superman. That they never were kind of things I was drawn to. Today, like if we're gonna choose the big two, I like them, but I don't like what they're doing now. I just don't like what they're doing, where they're going. Their turn just recently has been. But like I said, like White Knight and Dark Prince Charming for Batman, both of those books, holy crap! Dark Prince Charming is like a European album, the way they've done it.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
oh, you guys have to get that. Go ahead and get it today. Like, and then they're going to do a full volume here soon. Like, it has 2 volumes and they're hardback, and they only came in hardback. And Enrico Marini does the entire thing. He does the line art and then does the coloring with watercolors. It's just freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. I see his stuff. I like his design of Harley Quinn. It's got a more traditional circus look to it.
And he's very, like, you can engage with him. You can leave him messages and he'll say stuff back to you. He's not a dick. And he just does his thing, and he produces amazing books. It take him a better part of a year to put together, but when you're done, it's like a masterpiece work that you can put on your shelf and you can show anybody, and it's just amazing. That's I can't say enough about his art. Plus, he does his own independent stuff. He's working on a thing right now called Scorpion, and so look into that too. Anyway, sorry, I'm talking a lot.
No,
it's all right, man.
All right. I'm kind of keeping the conversation alive and going.
Well, it's good for us to listen to our elders.
Yeah. Okay, you smart ass.
No, I'm messing with you. I'm only a couple years younger than you are, so.
When I was a boy.
Back in my day, we actually had some real stories to go with our comics. Not all this.
True, though. It's true. I grew up with
everybody's doing.
With the 70s comics. My mom brought me a box of comics one time. They were all the covers were torn off because I guess the comic shop closed or whatever that they came from. And it was like the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And it were all
when
like
somebody brought you comics. When you're a kid, it was like Christmas any time when they brought you comics. Like I would read like they had these historical comics that would teach you about history of different eras, and they also would tell you like classical stories in comic form. Can't remember what they called those, but they had a bunch of them, and you could get them like in elementaries. And then if you get on like Scholastic, you could have them come to your house. And I had a whole bunch of those. I read those until they fell apart. And then, like, when I was really young, we did this trip across the country, and as we went across the country, you always have to wash the windshield. And so I'm like 6 years old, and I could climb up on the Cadillac. We were driving in a Cadillac, like one of those big boats. Imagine that, driving across the country in a Cadillac. And I got up on the hood, and I would squeegee off the front windshield, and every time I did that, my grandma would give me 10 cents. So when I got back home, I had all these dimes like in a bag, and I went down over to Allen's supermarket, and I bought like I wasn't into like Spider-Man. I was like into like kids stuff because I was a young kid. I was like 6 years old.
Man,
so I bought like
Jack, we're doing chewing for everybody.
Well, I'm middle class, so that happened. They always gave me something to do to like learn like a work ethic, and so I'd always have something to do, and then I'd get an allowance, and then if I did something extra, then they pay me a little bit extra, but it was like quarters and shit, But
I wish that was the reason why everyone made me do stuff.
What I did I bought Richie Rich and like Casper the Friendly Ghost and Little Devil and like from Fox and like those old comics. That were like kid stuff, and I had a stack of those after that, and like I spread them around like the neighborhood, and all the kids would come in and read them, and it was a great thing. And then later on, I got into Spider-Man and shit.
It's kind of funny. I was growing up. I was actually not allowed to read comics because I grew up. I grew up. Coming out of the '90s, so you had my parents were drive by the comic shop in town, and you got this Witchblade looking character right there on the logo. So they're like, oh, we don't want young Kracken getting exposed to all that stuff. So I wasn't really allowed to. And then as I kind of got older, the range kind of opened up, as it were. And then that's when what I really started reading was stuff from the Golden Age, like Action Comics and Detective Comics, all that other kind of boring stuff. But the first time I actually read like something from the 2000s, it was kind of like a real golden moment for me, was Jim Lee and Frank Miller's Batman and Robin Boy Wonder.
Oh yeah.
That was that is it's kind of one of those things. It's like, wow, the first real comic I ever read was a Jim Lee comic. Go figure. But
I don't know. Real is a relative term. I still have a great affinity for those Fawcett comics I just described. And I would give those to any kid because they're fun. They're fun and they're goofy, and but every one of them had kind of a moral to them. They're really good at that. And then when you moved into when I did move in quite soon after that, about 8 or 9, 10, when I really started getting into Marvel comics, those things kind of crossed over. The ideas that were embedded in the stories, which I think a lot of them have been lost today. But even when I got up into my 20s and I'm like reading Sin City, there's some moral tales in Sin City that it's couched in a very gritty world that has affected me, obviously, from what I write. But when you read about like Marv, all right, Marv, he's a gladiator, but he has a code of honor. You know what I mean? And Hardigan is the hero that he never quits. He never gives up, and he does the right thing even in the face of the worst possible stuff. These are iconic heroes that Frank Miller put in his terse kind of language, and it made him just pop off the page for me. And to this day, like Sin City, I have the big damn volume, the big hardback, and I'll crack it open like every month or so and just read one of the stories because I enjoy it so much. I mean, and the same thing with like Hellboy with Mignola. It just resonates, and that's what comics can do. And I think they've lost that. Like somewhere along the line, in about 2012-ish, they just completely lost it, as opposed to just slowly it creeping away. I mean,
what it was is when Disney really bought it. Is when Disney took over everything. It was like this shift. As soon as I saw that shit in Wizard magazine, I knew something bad was going to happen.
Yeah, probably.
Well, we can still make good stories. I mean,
that's what I mean.
I think my story is going to be all about sex and a girl, acting misbehaving. It's partially that, but there's a moral compass underneath everything that I write. I mean, there's a reason, and the moral is not for children. I don't want the children to read my book. I don't want that.
Oh, no.
Of course not.
I couched this the other day. Somebody said, "Well, is there a way that maybe you could tone sugar down and make it kid friendly?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, unless you want to I mean, how do I make that G-rated? I mean, really? I mean,
no, you don't. You just don't.
You just don't. I mean, some things are for children, some things are for adults, and some things are for teens. I guess kind of in between. But never shall the twain meet in that instance. If you changed her to where children could be able to read her, she wouldn't be Sugar's character anymore. She's something else, and that'd be fine if somebody else wants to do that. But,
it'd be akin to writing a Freddy Krueger children's novel.
Right? How are you going to do that? I
mean, you're not
going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do any horror film where kids would normally want to read it. Now, like Tug's little girl Elizabeth loves horror films, and she's I'm pretty good friends with her. I'm going to send a present for Elizabeth if you guys know who that little girl is. Have you guys ever listened to Tug?
No,
on occasion.
Really often.
All right. At the end of his live streams, he brings on his little 4-year-old, now 5-year-old daughter, and she tells this goofy little story, right? About a spooky night or whatever. But she likes horror films because her dad likes it,
Yeah.
And
that's adorable.
And I think I'm gonna get a plushie of Cthulhu and send it to her.
Oh, that's awfully cute.
I think I've actually seen a sort of stuffed Cthulhu.
Yeah, they have one. I just Googled it, and there was one. I was like, damn, that's cool. I like that. I might get one for myself.
You have one as a puppet co-host or something.
Yeah, I'd love to get like a puppet ghost. That would be fun as heck. Like
Yeah.
a puppet.
That's Doomcock. He's got a Cthulhu. Harvey Cthulhu is his puppet. Yeah, puppet sidekick.
Doomcock's awesome, man.
Yeah, I love that guy.
I can't believe in my old age I've stopped pretty much watching most television and I watch YouTube. I know I don't watch a whole lot of movies anymore, and I used to be like this huge cinephile. I watch YouTube because people entertain the shit out of me.
Yeah. And no
But
joke.
Doomcock's fun, man. He's fun to watch.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Every episode he puts out.
Well, damn, Nurkish freaking kills me. And like just some guy,
for real, man. I miss
or
that.
just some guy,
content,
or like Mim, or just some guy or Mim, like give an alternate take on something they read where they give a better story. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
Every time they do that, I'm like, that's something I would watch. And like my brain's going off and popping and shit, and I'm like, I'm seeing it in my head. Like him and just some guy, they should be writers for the big two. They should be writers, and they should be paying them like $100,000 a year minimum for what they just coming up with concepts and shit. I mean, Mim's amazing. Like every time he does that, I'm like,
Mim basically comes up with Iceman stories people would actually read, man.
Holy shit! I mean, if it was written by him, like it would be cool, and I would be just fine with like Bobby being gay for some reason after 40 years. Because
actually,
what?
I won't lie. As much, I actually wouldn't have minded Iceman being gay if he wasn't so freaking annoying since that happened. I mean, good God,
he's like the biggest douchebag.
He
turned into this like human being. Like even gay people gotta look at him like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
It seems like when they make some character gay in Marvel now, they make him like the most horrible people. Like America's like the most horrible person. She is a piece of shit.
And she wasn't even that bad in her original time with the Young Avengers either.
She was all right. I'm okay with her then. But then like you get Gabby Rivera writing this character, like I would not want to ever interact with that person.
I'll be right back.
You know what I mean? Who would want to interact with Gabby Rivera's America? Who would want to interact with Cena Grace's, Iceman? Who would want to interact with that person? That person, both of them are like unbelievable pieces of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Exactly.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
I said, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I mean, it's just like amazing. Go ahead.
Well, no, it's one of those things. Like I watched DNC's video where he was reviewing Cena Grace's the Kickstarter project, The Pride, and when he gets to that last story of that superhero that's like on Grindr and he's trying to find a hookup and stuff, that is the most shallow, horrible person for a superhero. And it's like, I don't mind having gay characters. In fact, I actually want to see them be complex. I want to see a gay character, a gay guy who's trying to juggle being the family man, trying to, be a hero, but also trying to balance, coming home to his husband or his partner and just
Apollo.
Not like that. Yeah, just normal people.
Yeah, normal people.
Normal people in extraordinary circumstance. You know what I mean? That's weird. That's what comics are.
Cena Grace's take on different gay characters. I always think there's like almost a level of malice to it, like almost self-hating in a way. Every time he seems to write one, they always just turn into like these very shallow, self-absorbed or people. Am I the only one who picked up on that?
Well, they're shallow self-inserts is what they are.
They're
yeah, that is true.
They're puddle shallow.
They turn the characters into themselves.
Exactly. They're trying to write themselves into the story. In fact, I kind of got into this thread last night. It's an animator gal on Twitter. I can't remember what her name is. Anyway, she changed her Twitter handle during the whole Halloween thing. She called herself Spoopy Witch Squid. But anyway, she was going on and on and on about the new Wreck-It Ralph and how they're appealing to, you know, blogger moms and stuff with the Disney
Oh yeah,
princess.
I think I follow her on Twitter too.
Yeah, and I kind of had this epiphany, and it's, you know, without getting into the whole the true fans versus the fake fans, but you have what I consider to be the real fans. Those are the people that they'll read, they'll watch, and they will absorb what they're seeing, and they will reflect that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like you're talking about, you know, when you read comic books and you kind of internalize those morals and you would reflect that outward. That's what I call the true fan. That's the one that respects the work and will actually be inspired by it. Whereas what I call the fake fan, those are the people that are trying to insert themselves into the narrative. Those are the ones that are trying to, you know, find their own representation in the media because they are trying so hard to get themselves in that narrative, because that's how they internalize it, is by putting and cramming themselves, forcing themselves into the narrative. That's why a lot of these writers create these shallow self-insert characters, is because they are literally trying to live the story.
Yeah.
That's all I say about that.
I can understand that to an extent, but still.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with, I mean, putting yourself in a story, but then make that character. Don't use some existing character to live through.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Make up your own character then, and then see if you can get that character introduced into the universe, but let it be organic, you know, let that, like,
Yeah.
Marvel had a shit ton of gay characters. I bet you none of you remember Freedom Ring. I bet you none of you guys know who Freedom Ring is from Marvel.
Hulkling and Wicked.
Yeah, they're both gay. It's just like, you know, just let's.
Who else was there?
Yeah, the North Star. Oh, I know that there's others, or at least I'm sure that there are. But
and Richter, I think.
Richter, maybe. But it's just silly, you know. Like, you destroy something. Like, what's Spider-Man now? Isn't he like some sort of CEO or some crap? Like, I can't even tell you what Peter Parker is.
He's just kind of a generic hipster.
Exactly.
Yeah, Spider-Man at this point is basically a semi-middle-aged hipster. That's pretty much how he's written. He's not cool. He's not witty. He is basically almost. He's basically a hipster at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is not. He's not the cool guy he was. He's not.
Well,
Spider-Man has lost all of his cool points that he had built over the years.
He's not even cool when he fights. Like Peter Parker always kind of was. You know, he'd pull back a little bit when he was, you know, without the mask. But when he put on the mask, man, he was just this sharp talking bullshitter. You know, that would be able to. I mean, he's not like that anymore. He's like with really shitty jokes and like dad joke puns and anyway. I said, see, like I said, I start talking about it and I get,
Spider-Man used to be a straight up comedian, bro.
You know, I like you guys were talking about how these writers kind of insert themselves into these iconic characters.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, in my story, there is a character. His name is Slick Jimmy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's the first son of Lost Peaks. He's like, there's a family that basically owns the entire valley, so they would be like the royal family kind of. But and then all these other families that own the other claims, they're kind of like the nobles in a way, but it's very capitalist, like a laissez-faire capitalism run amok. And he's in there, and he's kind of like Sugar's uncle, but I kind of put myself in there, and that would be my idealized self, but he's not the main character. He's just somebody who's there, and if you would think like if you read the novelization, it's me, like telling the story of his valley. Does that make sense? And then recounting in third person Sugar's tale and any other tale that goes on. would be him like doing the Chronicles of Lost Pigs, and that's how I've done it. Like, so I have inserted myself, but not, and he's not a Mary Sue, you know, he's not perfect or anything. He has his problems.
Oh yeah, I feel you.
But I wanted to put myself in there. I wanted to be able to at one point, you know, say, well, that's me. If you're wondering where I am in that story, well, there I am, right there.
Well, I feel like there's a difference between putting yourself in the story and fan fictioning yourself into a story and making it about you.
And Slick Jimmy is not me. You know, he's far from me. In fact, so far from me that you wouldn't recognize him as me. But he's my voice in the story. You know, everybody else is. I've tried to craft their voice as them, who they are, and how they feel. Would be their own characters, and over time they become alive, and that's how I think every writer should be, and especially when you're writing these iconic characters that have like this mythos and this history behind them. You should be a steward as opposed to somebody who's just trying to, you know, work out your own neuroses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. A lot of these modern writers don't seem to have much respect for the lore beyond
No, they don't care at all.
Beyond sort of making tongue-in-cheek jabs at everything.
Yeah,
I mean, this is supposed to be realistic in the context of the comic book world.
Yeah, the world should be real for the people who are in it. You know what I mean? And as a writer, you should strive to make that as real as possible. So when it goes on the page and the writing that and the thing is, you know, the artists have to strive to make it as real and as nuanced and detailed and so forth. And then the writer on top of it needs to add the kind of like the frosting, because in my opinion, every good book you should be able to just look at the art sequentially and kind of get the idea of what's going on without even reading one word. That's the best kind of comics, in my opinion. And then once you add the words on top of that, it just makes it deeper and richer, as opposed to you have to rely on the prose to figure out what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I was still doing my webcomic, The Chicken Warrior, that was kind of my goal as I was doing every page. It's like, okay, let's try and tell the story without words. If we can tell the story without words, that's kind of the goal. You get that, and the words are the icing on the cake. And you look like reading older Marvel comics, and it's like that's how writing the Marvel comics way was
right.
They kind of let the artists tell the story, and the writers were the ones that kind of took the back seat. They're the ones that just kind of put context to the images, but the images themselves were the story.
Right. I mean, a good writer will lay down the premise and the concept and basically the narrative where things are supposed to go. And then you present that to a storyteller artist, and the artist can sequentially tell the story without words. And it's really fun if you find there's some of these books where they've done that on purpose. You know, it's just you're watching like a silent movie. And then, but you know, by the very end, by the skill of the artist and the expressions and the body mechanics, what's going on, and it's kind of a beautiful thing when it's done right. And then, if you can, you know, then a good writer who knows his place, you give the good context and layer it down, and then you can move on. I'm trying to think of a book, and I see it in my head, and I can't think of the title, that does that perfectly without words. Oh, it's bugging to bug me now.
You know, for a while there, you were cutting out there, and it sounded like Skynet was hacking your chat there. It's kind of weird.
Oh, man.
Totally
sorry.
did.
We have infiltrated the system. Prepare for assimilation.
You think NASA's trying to invade the stream?
Yeah, that's it.
I can't tell if I would be an otter. I mean,
no, he's not in the chat or nothing. So, but I want to give some shout outs to the chat again, because we have Numbing Disaster Anon in the chat with us tonight.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So Revengers Forever.
Revengers Forever, bro.
And Blind Artist. I'm going to actually go ahead and pump his book real quick. You guys might have seen him on Twitter. He's writing imaginary and doing all the art. Yeah, he's got his. Well, I don't know when he's launching his campaign, but you can definitely look him up on Twitter, Blind Artist. And yeah, he's got some pretty fun stuff coming up. And I got to give him mad props. You know.
So I'm not familiar with like a Stefan or Norman. What are you guys doing? You said Chicken Word Norman.
Oh
Stefan?
yeah. I'm Chicken Warrior was a webcomic project that I tried last year, and for all intents and I deleted it off of all the sites that I was having it hosted on, but I'm considering reposting it back onto Tapas because essentially the first story arc is pretty much done. I mean, all that's left was some epilogue. That's kind of when I left the story, but it's kind of a Conan parody. But that's not the main project that I'm working on anymore. I'm instead working with Ninja, Josh, the amazing animator, and a bunch of other many fine and talented folks working on a secret project that I have to keep my lips sealed on. But we got that project that's coming next. That project is supposedly coming next year, and I do have a hand in that. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I haven't done the Chicken War in some time, but I do think I'll repost it again sometime, just to kind of give some people a bit of a context as to what else I've done. But that project I kind of stopped working on because while I had the first story arc pretty much basically done and almost done, I was writing into the second arc, and make no mistake, the social justice zealots do affect culture, and I will fight that with people because I wasn't terrified about how people were going to perceive my work, but that was something that was on my mind constantly as I was writing. It's like, okay, I hope I'm not, coming across as misogynistic. I hope this is a strong female character. I hope this guy doesn't come across as too brutish or anything like that. And it crippled the story. It killed the mood because I discovered, had a self-realization that I was turning my female lead into a Mary Sue character. And the story wasn't even about her. I mean,
it happens. That's what naturally happens when you worry about all these things. It just does. I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I will put whatever I want. But here's the weird thing. Before all this bullshit went down, years ago, I wrote a short story that had a bunch of characters in it, and one of them was a black trans man from Britain who had a bunch of her lesbian lovers that were her like entourage, and she was a very powerful figure like in the underworld of like Londinium, which is what I call the London of my world. And I wrote her in such a way that she was funny and harsh and cruel, but like I've put it before people and they're like, I love this character, and like I wrote it like in 2003. And that was just something I thought was interesting. What?
Mm-hmm.
What was that, Stefan?
I was saying I was kind of getting some flashbacks of the Protector. That Tony J. martial arts film.
Oh yeah. I don't know if that. I think that movie had
I think that movie had like a transgender crime boss as well. Well, like the main
but like I liked it. She's actually female, but she acted like a man, and she had a bunch of females as her entourage, because she liked women, but she considered herself a man, or he considered himself a man, but like that's how I wrote her. I keep saying that, but like that it's one of those things where the language is getting so strange now that you have a hard time just being descriptive without getting somebody up in arms about it, I don't care anymore. I'll put she in there if I want to put she, and if I switch to he, at a point there'll be a purpose for it, and I don't give a crap if anybody has a problem with it. Just that's me. I can't worry about what other people think. You either like my stuff or you don't. And if you don't, I'm sorry. I really am. I want as many people as possible to like it, but you might not like it because you might not agree. And that you gotta write for you firstly, but also think, you're looking for your niche, all right, as opposed to like trying to appease everyone. You can't be an appeaser. You have to be a person who first pleases yourself, and then you look for those people who like you. Now that they'll say the same thing on the other side. Well, that's what we're doing. Well, no, then you're dictating to other people what they should say. I don't give a shit what you say. You can write whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
But you cannot tell me what I'm going to write or say, for that matter.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, and that's kind of, the epiphany I had ever since I kind of started, really connecting with this community. It's like, I shouldn't be afraid, and I really want to write the story that I really want to write the story that I want to write. And that's kind of why I'm doing I'm still in the planning stages of working on my own project, separate from the top secret project. But, that's something that I'm really kind of putting effort into. And it's like, I'm not going to worry about that anymore. I'm not going to worry about, do I have enough? Is it diverse enough? Am I coming across as woman hating? No, I'm not going to worry about that, because that's petty talk. That's not what stories are about. They're not about appeasing the social context of the times. They're about telling the eternal tale of good and evil, or what have you. It's all about telling a good, solid story.
Right. I mean, the thing is like, they've abandoned in their deconstructionism, they've abandoned a lot of storytelling tools. And not saying that, and then there's not a problem with deconstructionist idea. I mean, basically, Tarantino's made a living off of deconstructed stories, but he knows what he's doing when he tells a story, because all the parts and pieces are there for you to figure out as things go along. They don't have that. They don't have structure. They don't have like dynamics. They don't have moving from homeostasis through the first from the first act to the second act, and then coming back to homeostasis. They don't have any of that shit. It's just gone. And so they tell us like these flat, weird, boring, just stand around, drinking coffee and whacking off. Just why would you want to watch that?
That reminds me of something, actually. I was watching one of these videos by, like, I believe his name was Professor Geek. I think he's like a YouTuber as well.
Yeah, he's a great channel.
Oh yeah, and you know what? It was something he actually said that really got to me on that subject of deconstruction. It was basically everybody wants to deconstruct all these superheroes, but nobody ever wants to be responsible for building them back up.
Yeah, and just
bringing them back together after they destruct them.
Yeah, just some guy.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, just some guy said the exact same thing.
Yeah, they deconstruct the superheroes, but nobody ever wants to build them back up afterward.
See, it's hard work to build them back up. You can destroy something pretty easily, and then but once you destroy it, recreating it in a way that is resonant, that's hard. That's why you shouldn't fuck around with the legacy, because it's already resonant.
Yes,
it already has power. And so if you tear it down and take away the inherent power of an already established character that has mythos and gravitas, then you try to build something back up, it's going to look like paper thin bullshit. And that's what all of their characters are now. Paper thin bullshit.
It's because it's shallow self-insert. They just want to live the story. They don't actually want to create engaging stories.
That explains why that explains why all these so-called pros get so mad when people don't like what they're doing with the characters, because they're not actually writing the characters, they're writing themselves as the characters.
Right. And so it's an indictment of themselves. Like if somebody doesn't like little girl Lethal or anything I've ever written, it's not nice. It doesn't feel good when somebody says, yeah, I don't care for that, and if they get really harsh and go, that stuff's shit. Well, that's actually easier for me to discount. It's when they go and kind of dissect it and then point out some things that I'm kind of like, yeah, I probably should have fixed that. I actually enjoy that, but it's also not nice. But when somebody just says, nah, that's not for me, well, what are you going to do? Just, okay, I'm have a great day, and I hope you find something you do like. That's how you have to look at it. I can't invest my entire existence into whether or not somebody likes Little Girl Lethal. But what I can do is if they give me any feedback, and you'll probably see this on Twitter, if somebody says something that, or they, well, let's take it for instance. When Renfamous came at me, I knew what she was doing, but the thing is like I'm sincere when I say this. She did raise my profile. She did give me free publicity. I'm completely serious. I appreciate that she did that, and I thanked her for it profusely. And what could she say to that?
I saw that whole thing, and you know what? All she had to do was shut up, because she realized that, yeah, all I'm doing is giving him publicity. And if she is not some sort of weird freaking leftist troll, I'd be surprised. You know, that's like her whole shtick.
I was going out and praising her up and down, and I still will say this: Marvel should hire her. She's way better at like promotional shit than Samahana or whatever her name is.
Ironically enough, you're right.
She is. She's good at it. She is kind of vitriolic, but there are times when she is actually quite funny. She's just vitriolic. She has a mean streak.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny. Under the mean streak, and then she stopped harassing me, because I'm just going to continue to do it. I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to get harsh with her. I'm not going to call her names, because it's not going to do anything. And all she does, the more she goes at me, the more I'll be nice and praise her for at least responding to me and talking to me, and and bringing more eyes on my project, because that's exactly what she's doing. You know, when she put that thing out there and it said, this is whatever she said about Saucy's pinup. There's like 700 and like some odd likes on that thing. That's 700 eyeballs that saw me, and then some of them might have passed it on after that. I don't know. And although they didn't like it, obviously, because they're agreeing with her, that's 700 more people. And then other people from our side kind of came in, and I've always said I'm not Comicsgate. I'm Comicsgate adjacent, but I have sympathies with the Comicsgate ethics and their problems. I just have a problem with some of the people who are in Comicsgate doing some things that are similar to the opposite side.
Fair enough.
And so when I say that, I'm giving props to those who I admire and discounting others that have behaved badly, in my opinion.
But, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
But like when I got done with her, and I just recently I sent her something out and said, hey, do a Sugar Lightspeed cosplay. I'd love it if you did it. It would be beautiful. You'd look beautiful. Have at it if you want, And again, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but she hasn't responded to me, because what else can she say when I say you're beautiful? You would look great in this outfit. What's she going to say to that?
That is funny.
Because I would love to see her. I'd love to see her prove her femininity, and like everybody calls her like a trans girl, a trans person. If she came and like did this hot little number, I'd be like, damn, Skippy girl, you did it. Shit. I'd give her props for it. But, I'm not going to rip into her, and she cannot rip into me because I won't let her rip into me.
Well, that's the thing. And it's she's trolling around because she wants reaction, because that is her MO. That's kind of the thing. And it's like, that's what everyone's saying. It's like, stop paying attention to Renfamous, because that's all we're doing is just feeling fire.
Right. And like, kill them with kindness, And the thing is like, when you kill them with kindness, I do it a little bit tongue in cheek, but also I do it with sincerity. I'm trying to be as nice as I possibly can with somebody who really doesn't probably care for me very much, and that's how you make friends or prove a point by being an example. Now there are some other people out there who are quite prominent who go to battle with her, and that's fine if they want to do that, but I think it might be counterproductive.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with them going to battle with her on the issues. It's when they start throwing invectives and they start doing ad hominems and they start using vulgar language. I think you're really shooting yourself in the foot if you want to prove your point.
Exactly. That's kind of the thing. It's like it's kind of like whenever you're seeing a criticism of something and somebody just says, "Oh, this thing is shit." Well, why is it? Again, it's counterproductive. You're not really communicating your point if you have to resort to vulgarity.
Well, and see, if I'd ever gotten into it, say with Vox, all right, Vox Day, which I haven't had any contact with him, but I have with John De La Rose.
I had no idea who Vox Day was.
Yeah, no,
I mean, I don't agree with Vox Day hardly at all on his worldview. I mean, I just don't. But I could still be polite to him. And the thing is, like with John De La Rose, it's become acrimonious with certain people with him. And they're pushing his buttons and he's pushing theirs. And I'm just like, I've just stepped out of it. And if John, and I've been cordial with John, but he's feeling like he's Comicsgate, but not the Comicsgate that he thinks. And then, there's a whole drama thing in there I just don't want to be a part of. I don't want to, I'm Comicsgate adjacent. And if they want to jaw at each other over bullshit, well, I guess they have the right to do that, but they look like idiots. And a lot of these guys I really admire when I say they look like idiots. There's some people I really admire that I think they need to take a step back and just go, you have the right to believe what you want. I just disagree with you. But I respect you as a human being.
Exactly.
Wish more people could do that.
It'd make the world a lot easier place. Look, I mean, anybody goes on about like white nationalism or any sort of racial epithets or that sort of thing, I just discount them. It's either ignorant or just filled with malice from something in their childhood. Because, I mean, you put a little Asian and black kid and white kid and Native American kid and Hispanic kid in a group, they might get in a fight over a toy or something, but most of the time they get along. It's learned bullshit.
Exactly. Because kids, they don't care. They just want to have fun and play. You're right. It is a learned thing. Hate is a learned thing. It's not an inherently human trait.
And see, like, I don't want to discount like things like genetic differences that make us, because of our ethnicity. There are genetic differences. There are measurable genetic differences, and that's not a bad thing. It's just what it is. But then there are other things that are environmental as well, and those have to be taken into account. And economic. People who don't make as much money are technically a lot of times not going to be as smart in certain fields in certain testing as people who have money and have food all the time to fuel their brains. It's just, that's what happens. People in the first world are often much more intelligent than people in the third world. Why is that? Well, they're not eking out their existence, hand to mouth, looking for like grains of wheat in the field where it's been always, they're spending every waking moment trying to get enough stuff to keep their brain running. Whereas we have way too much stuff and we get fat. But our brain can just kind of go. And that's one of those things that people don't like to talk about. It's not a nice thing to talk about. And then there is the quality of food and the quality of your exercise and the quality of your lifestyle that will affect all of that shit. I mean, let's just take an example. Asians usually are much better at hand-eye coordination than most of the planet. Ping pong is a good example, and they're the best at it, but there's a whole bunch of other things they're very good at. All right. White people almost invariably are the strongest of the races if you get down to higher upper echelons of like powerlifting and like strongman competitions is dominated by whites. Blacks, they can run, especially West Africans, can run and jump higher and faster than anybody. And then the East Africans, right? And then the East Africans can like run forever because of their environment and how like they've had a few thousand years to get that way. It's just how it is. And people don't like to talk about that stuff because, that's racial bullshit. But then you mix them together and you get you get some mix. Like there's a word for it when you add mixture. It makes stronger. It makes stronger. And there's like, well, everybody's going to be a mud baby. And like I've heard that from like racists. I'm like, mud baby? What are you talking about? Like caramel skinned with blue eyes and blonde hair? That's gorgeous to me. You know.
And then
But I also like. Well, and I also like toe-headed women with with like milky skin, and I like coal black women with like amazing like carved froze. That's gorgeous to me. I mean, I like, and then forget about it. Most Asian women are like gorgeous. I mean, what are you going to say about a petite, very skilled, highly efficient woman? I mean, that's basically most Asian women.
Yeah. Okay.
My last girl's Filipino.
So there you go. I'm kind of going off on that, but those are the things when people start talking about it, they don't want to look at the stuff that goes on.
Asian women.
What was that?
I was saying, I won't lie, I do have a bit of an obsession with Asian women.
It's hard not to have an obsession with Asian women. They're so much nicer than like Western women. Holy shit, they're so much nicer. I have a hard time explaining how weird it is when you go to like Japan or like the Philippines. The women are so nice. They're so polite. They don't rip into you. Like here, like you got to be careful of everything you say, because it might, it might degenerate into somebody screaming at you, or something even worse, where they like look you up and try to destroy your life because they disagree with you, or they think you're some sort of misogynist, pig, sexist, this, that, or the other thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, and again, I'm not talking race realism, the whole thing. I hope that didn't make anybody uncomfortable, but you know,
I don't care,
because what I believe is go back to MLK. All right, Martin Luther King had an epiphany that should be burned into people's brains. You need to gauge everyone you meet by the content of their character. And if they're lacking, you need to note that. And if they're not, if there's somebody you can look up to or that you can trust, I mean, it doesn't mean a damn thing. My friend Josh, and we're not Josh the animator, but like another Josh, he's in my neighborhood. It's incidental that he's black. If I had a daughter and he was not married to this beautiful woman that he's married to, I would want him to marry a daughter. Like I'd have a daughter that I'd be proud to have him in my family. And anybody who thinks anything different,
I feel you.
any other race, that's bullshit, because he's proved his worth to me. I know that man. All right. But if I meet like some sort of white guy who's like a tweaker, and he's part of like a 1%er like biker gang, yeah, I don't want that guy in my family.
Well,
I don't want that drama that comes from that lifestyle coming into my family that I have to deal with. I don't care if he's like, China white, I don't care. But the same thing applies if somebody's like a gangbanger. I don't want that in my family until either they've cleaned up their act. You know what I mean? That's, people don't like to talk about that, but that's the thing. It's content of character. It's not these, definitions that you're born with that you can't do anything about. I mean, can you do anything about the fact that you got genitals that are male, or the fact that you're born with a certain color skin, or the only thing you can do is
there's plenty of procedures that can mess you up. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah, well, again, I'm talking about normal people who don't go into like some sort of weird fetishism trying to change themselves to be something they're not. You should embrace who you are and be happy with it, and try to maximize everything that God gave you. I mean, I'm a person who believes in God. And be the best that you can. And I don't know what is going on the left that says that these immutable characteristics define who you are, because they don't define who you are.
No,
I mean, this is why we call them NPCs now, is because they feel like they have to follow this program, this set program, where you can't be an actual individual. You have to just, hey, this is what you're supposed to be. You're a white person, well, you should have white guilt. You're a black person, well, you should hate white people. You're a Mexican, well, you should feel like you should hate Trump. This is what you're supposed to do.
Follow the politics, bullshit, man. I mean, we're all going to be there. There is some validity to some collectivism. I want everybody who's an American to be proud of being an American. I want them to believe in the culture of the Constitution that we have grown up about that. And if they come from another place, I want them to incorporate
American.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I'm free.
Exactly. And the thing is like that should be our if you want to be ethnocentric, you be American, you know. And anybody who comes here, that should be their goal. I don't care where they came from or what their creed was or what their genetics are. If they say that I came here to be an American and to support the Constitution and the ideals and the freedoms that America is the best. I mean, I'm prideful and maybe blinded to this, but if America dissolves, where are we going to go to have the same thing? Where else? Canada? Well, not right now. Certainly not Mexico. Anywhere in Europe? I'm telling you. You look at UK. No, they don't have the same freedoms, and nowhere in Europe. Europe has the same freedoms, the same guarantees. You look anywhere in the world, nowhere, not Australia, not New Zealand, nowhere has the same guarantees to freedom and self-expression and upward mobility that we have here. And people discount that every day and say that we live in a totalitarian society. We live in a fascist society. I'm like, do you guys not know how to read a book?
Clearly,
to look at like footage and see what it really is. Do you have jackbooted thugs running through the streets right now, breaking and doing crystal knocks all the time? Do you have pogroms and people like taking off in the middle of the night and you never see them again? I mean, other than like, you know, normal crime.
Man.
But I mean,
whole populations far from that bad, dude.
Right. Whole populations. We've done some bad shit in the past. I mean,
to be fair, pretty much every place has at least once.
Right. Well, Black Americans and Native Americans and Asians to some extent, and Mexicans have all had a raw deal from whites in the past. And the whites that stood up over time paid a pretty heavy price for their standing up at times. And it took a long time for us to get to the point where everybody seems to be fairly equal. And then all of a sudden, those people that feel they're still oppressed want to create another like aristocracy from their own victimhood. It's like weird as shit. And when you look at it and you're just like, what? Do you want oligarchy and autocratic ideals and a newest aristocracy based on socialist stuff where you're saying we're all going to have equity? Because it gets to be this mind bend thing. I'm talking a lot here, but I'm passionate about this culture. This is the culture where we're talking about.
It is.
This is, and it's bound up in all these art forms that we're creating right now. And like I said, my comic's not going to be implicitly, I mean, like explicitly political, but there's going to be some things that I say within, you know, the episodes that are going to be undercurrent. I'm going to have a subtext, but I'm not going to be like smacking people in the face. And the funny thing is I'm setting up the whole thing on the fact that this is a place where capitalism has run amok. All right. But I'm equating a lot of other things because there's 5 different empires on the world who follow different things stuff. And I can say a lot of things through my writing that I want to say without just, you know, taking a ball peen hammer and whacking somebody in the head with it and saying socialism good, socialism or capitalism or whatever, you know. I'm sorry. I'm just
no, I'm 100% right there with you. And you know, it's like you done school me on all this stuff because it's like you're 100% right. And there's a difference between Blake Northcott said it best on Twitter. There's a difference
between a lot of good things.
Yeah, no kidding.
She's a smart girl.
Exactly. There's a difference between applicability and allegory. And you know, the classic X-Men comics, that was applicable. And you know, and everybody likes to recount the golden age of the X-Men. It's like, you know, you could relate to them no matter what you were. If you were black, if you were gay, you could relate to them because they were hated for being inherently different. They weren't hated for a specific reason, such as being gay or whatever. It was a fictional thing that they were mutants. but it was applicable. You could understand, you could relate. And that's what made the character so damn iconic. Just as well with Peter Parker. He was the nerd. He was the kid that got bullied. A lot of people that a lot of kids that read comics in those days could relate to that. Again, applicability.
What did Peter Parker teach there? He was the bullied kid, but when he got the power to just kick the shit out of anybody he wanted, it was normal, right? Did he do that?
Never.
Did he do that?
Not once.
He did. It took a harsh thing to have happen to him, but he learned that with power comes responsibility. Like just this iconic, this axiomatic thing that can be a core part of your constitution, your own personal constitution. That's what's taught there, and now it's pretty much lost. They've lost it. He doesn't teach that anymore.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Right, and whatever write these. Well, and a lot of these people, I think, were they might be nerdy. Some of them that right now. I mean, most of the hipster generation are a bunch of like nerdy people. They're like nerdy. It's cool to be nerdy, but in their coolness to be nerdy, they become the bullies, and then they write their characters like bullies, like Bobby Drake. Right now, Bobby Drake is a bully. He's an
exactly. Why somebody else said that?
Angry gay bully.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable asshole bully. And the fact that these people don't realize that this book that they're vaunting, that people like, all these publications, it's so progressive, it's so wonderful, it's so diverse and inclusive. It's such a big pile of bullshit about an asshole.
You know something else? That you mentioned it. From what I've seen during the original Iceman run, he pretty much caused most of the stuff that happens to him and everyone around him. He got his own boyfriend freaking put in the hospital, essentially.
And then he got mad at his boyfriend for his boyfriend going, I don't know if I can handle this shit. I just want to have a boyfriend. And
Colossus and claws through his freaking spine.
Right. I mean, like he got messed up by Dakin, for crying out loud. That would leave like PTSD for most people. And then like Bobby's like, well, if you can't handle my life, well, man, and just like I was like, what the fuck am I reading there?
Yeah,
why
for that guy?
Who wouldn't feel bad for that guy? What empathetic person would not feel bad for this guy who got in way over his head? He's just a normal dude.
What it was a freaking one night stand, and now he's freaking getting attacked and almost killed like four times since meeting him.
And then like Bobby does like the weirdest, like he does this stalker-esque kind of single white female thing. He like moves across the country to like
after one night.
After one night, it's just like, really?
And we don't even know if he actually did anything based on the book,
right? I mean, it's so stereotypical, so weird, weirdly written. Like Zach says this all the time, and this is true of any sort of writing for like movies or you want to write the characters as normal people, even if they're extraordinary people. All right, your heroes should act heroic, but they also should be like McClane, John McClane.
Oh yeah,
John McClane is not like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like this extraordinary physical specimen. But even like his characters were kind of, the one-liner was like the joke. But John McClane was the everyman. He's just every man, and the reason why he resonates even to this day is he gets put into a situation. He has some skills, but he's in over his head. One guy against a bunch of like mercenaries, and he doesn't have any fucking shoes, and he's trying to save a bunch of people as best he can, and in a place where he's trapped. That's a great story. But he's a regular guy who's set up, he's got kids, and it's like Christmas, and he's trying to fix his marriage, and just normal shit, and then he's in an extraordinary situation. That's how you tell a story. I mean, if you tell a story where you can't relate with the character at all, and most people cannot relate with somebody like Bobby Drake or Riri Williams or
Don't
Chavez.
start with Riri Williams. I have days of rants about that character.
Right, you can't relate to these people. I mean, the stereotype that they made a black girl steal stuff that she should have been able to get because she's in MIT. Why did she steal stuff? Why did she do that?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Call Riri Williams progressive, but frankly, she's the most racist thing I've seen in a while.
It's a bunch of white people trying to estimate what black people are like. That's what it is.
Well, I've known black people who are extremely intelligent, who are in college and in business, and I've worked with them. They don't act like that.
No,
they don't do that. If you got into MIT, why would you risk getting kicked out of MIT for stealing, proprietary stuff? Why would you go and say, "Look,
sorry."
What?
I was gonna say, you know what the saddest part about Riri Williams is too, on top of everything else? DC and Milestone essentially made that character and made her better age almost a whole decade earlier.
What character was that?
Feels neat.
Hardwire.
Tiffany Evans from Hardwire.
Okay. Well, see, and that's the thing. Like if you're gonna tell a story, it's like these people don't even understand how to properly make a character that makes any sense and any resonance and any relatability. And then they don't look at what's come before and say, look, maybe we've made something that's like this, but let's use some of that. Like DC and Marvel have been doing that for years, kind of bouncing things off of each other, and things come out of it. I mean, like Thanos and Darkseid and Deadpool and Deathstroke. I mean, those are good examples. I mean, and then you got it's happened. You could do that. Riri Williams could have done that. But the fact that they make her such an unlikable, angry, pissed off character who would do the most retarded things, supposedly being like one of the smartest people on the planet, and do things that would stereotype her as exactly what all the stereotypes, quote unquote, are about somebody of that color. I don't understand, because all you have to do is make her a good person with some sort of backstory that gives her a motivation to do heroic things. But her backstory is that she wants to be Tony Stark.
Her backstory is she wanted her teacher to be racist towards her to give her motivation to achieve things.
But then her motivation becomes she wants to be a white man, and it's kind of like that. It's like a weird kind of, I want to be you, like a single white female's a black teenager syndrome that wants to be the white male. It's like,
actually, what else is funny about that? You know what else is funny about that?
Sure.
She still has she essentially cannot and has not even achieved that goal. Oh, she said her teacher said you can never be Tony Stark. She went on and made an Iron Man costume. It ain't hard to make an Iron Man costume. That's half of Iron Man's rogues gallery.
Well, and then she goes on to like terrorize Latvia or Latveria. I mean, and then the just recently the best thing I've seen with her,
Iron Man, but she ends up becoming a terrorist.
Right, but like you're just like, what are they doing with this character? And then like the best thing I've seen that happen with her just recently is where she gets her ass kicked by Thanos. Like she gets it handed to her.
Gets the wake up call most characters like her never get.
Right. And if she could learn something from that, if they could mold that and say, look, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing. I thought I could take on Thanos, and his skin color doesn't matter. He's fucking purple, I mean, you tried to go up against, a god, and you saw what that happened to you, and you barely escaped, you barely survived. That could be a point where you could rebuild her. And I don't know if they'll do that. I doubt it.
Because Thanos eventually said, you are not worth killing.
Right. And isn't it weird that like Thanos now, one of the most favorite characters a lot of people know is Thanos. He's this huge, big baddie who like wants to destroy half the universe. But like, he's more likable than like 90% of the new characters.
Oh, I saw a little kid dressed as Thanos the other day.
Right. like seriously. And then like Josh Brolin does him to the nines and like does the best damn Thanos. You know, he just did a great Thanos.
Oh yeah.
And I'm amazed at that. The biggest baddie, one of the biggest baddies of the Marvel universe, is now more heroic in some ways than these new characters. He is.
I think it's because. No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I think it's because the writers end up relating more to the villains than they do the heroes.
That could actually be complete truth. I mean, that might be just seeing right to the heart of the matter of it. That they project themselves into a villain, and then the villain has such gravitas, so because you can be villainous, but then. I think you're hitting on something right there.
Well, that might be the case. There's only a handful of characters that actually know who Thanos is in the context of the movie.
Well, that's the thing too. Is Thanos kind of just came on the scene as ultra badass. Your layperson that is not knowing comics has no clue as to who Thanos is, as to why he's such a badass throughout the decades. Thanos is how old now? Or he's been in comics for how long? He's got to be at least 20 years.
Long enough to own
20 years. Yeah, he's been around for a while. But and the thing is like most comic nerds and geeks like us, we know who he is. But when you bring him on the scene, but even now, like that's one of the few books I was collecting from Marvel. I was doing like Kingpin and then Daredevil, but I finally just gave up Thanos because I gave up Marvel altogether. I was tired of their shit. But I liked the Thanos story. I did. And
just wait for the trade paperback.
Yeah, wait for the trade and wait for it to be used. That's what I'm doing. I'm not gonna contribute to their horse shit, and I will go and I'll sift through what's good and what isn't, because I am just not putting any more money into that. Life's too short. Money's too hard to come by, and for me to buy crap. And
most of my favorite Marvel heroes are either dead or replaced by now. I'm not sure there is anything left for me there.
I was good. That's a perfect reason. That's one of the reasons why I just don't bother buying Marvel comics anymore. Is because, for one, I know that Captain America died. That was their big to do. And you can't bring him back from that, and then they had Bucky take over, right? And that was perfect. They had that whole brainwashed super soldier right there. That was Captain America if they wanted to write that story.
Yeah.
Don't come back and tell us for this whole time, for the last 80 years, he was secretly working for Hydra. Yeah. That's retarded.
Okay. That incident right there, like I'd been just living and sifting through what I thought was good, and I'd buy what I wanted. That incident right there, Nick, what the fuck is his last name right now?
Nick Spencer.
Nick Spencer, right? I don't mean to be violent, but I would be I wouldn't want to talk to him if I met him. I really I used to be a Cap guy. I liked during the 80s. I collected Cap quite a bit in my teenage years. And when they did that to Cap, I know that they'd killed him off before then, and I didn't have a problem with them bringing him back. But now they've destroyed his legacy.
Yeah,
he's not Cap. Because the original Cap, the new Cap is like a cosmic cube thing. Homunculus. What is he?
Now they have freaking
right. He's some golem. What is this dude? Because
he's
the original Cap. All this stuff that Cap did over the decades, from his inception back, around the World War II.
Yeah.
What? He was a Hydra agent. See, and that was Nick's great idea. Like I said, he makes me angry enough to want to be violent, and I don't want to be violent. I wouldn't want to be around him because I'd be so. It was a bad idea. Break out the meme. It was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marvel's just been a chain of bad ideas, one after the other.
I will tell you what, it was Free Comic Book Day, and I was there with my son and my best friend and his son, and we were looking at the free comics, and I didn't pick up anything Marvel. And it was like number one. It was like Steve Rogers, Captain America, and he had the new shield and stuff. And I'm looking at it, and I was like, "That's not Captain America," because I knew this was the Disney-fied Captain America, and my intuition was correct that they have ruined consistently every single character, every single one.
And it's like they ruined anything that has a patriotic theme, like America Chavez. Her name is America. She's name is America anymore.
Yeah.
And she's this horrible character that represents America. And then they take Steve Rogers, the quintessential good guy, the heart of gold, does things just because of his moral code, and they twist him into a fucking Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
And then they reforming into this thing that you're not sure what he is anymore. Mm-hmm. Where does he get his moral compass? Well,
yeah.
What is he?
Well,
and he represents America, and I guess that's what they're saying. America has no more moral compass.
Yeah, ironically enough,
they killed Hulk and brought him back as a psychopath. They killed Black Widow. They emasculated Hawkeye. Wasp was retired and gave it over to a dilettante.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
is ultra on now.
And if you want to talk about demasculating a character, what Bendis did to Superman, when I finished
I'm not a big Superman fan, but holy shit, that's the Superman that was being written before that was great.
Yeah,
exactly.
Tomasi is backed Wade and shit, but I mean, like he was writing a really good book. It was a great book, patriotic book, teaching good values, teaching morals that anybody of any stripe can relate to, and then Bendis comes in and fucks it up.
Yeah, let me break this down.
Turn DC into the new Ultimate Universe.
No kidding, and it's just so okay. I remember, picking up trades from the library and reading, Superman stuff from the early 2000s and stuff, and I had a pretty good time with it, but I always felt, like that there was something missing from Superman stories, but, I didn't pay it much mind. And I remember reading this one, I think it was like Superman, the Coming of Atlas or whatever. But anyway, you had, there was this flashback moment where, he's reminiscing about this time, this was back when he was married to Lois the first time. And, recounting this, moment early in the morning, and they had a nice, cute, romantic moment. And it's like, okay, that felt wholesome. And then, the New 52 rolled around and they broke up the marriage. And at the time, it wasn't a huge thing. I mean, Superman's my favorite character, but I've never, like how I said, I didn't grow up with comics, so I haven't really been into them growing up. But then, you had the New 52. All right, fine. But then when they announced Rebirth and, they were bringing back Superman and Lois together, that felt so good because it felt like we were returning to the wholesome Superman, the all-American icon. And that was a great feeling. It just felt really good, clean, and hopeful. And then Bendis walks onto the scene. Fine. You have the 6-issue miniseries with gorgeous artwork by Ivan Reis, by the way, in the first issue. But and the first 2 issues, I actually, ironically enough, coincidentally, just before that, I watched the first Christopher Reeve Superman movie, and I'm like, this is fun. I like this. And then coming from that, reading the first couple issues of the Man of Steel miniseries, it's like, this is just like Christopher Reeve. I can dig this. And then stuff kind of started popping up. It most, in the side characters. And then when the final issue rolled around, and that's when we find out what happened to Lois and John, I read that, and it's like I kind of felt, I felt the weight of the moment. I thought, oh man, that's kind of sad. But then Zach, DNC, he really kind of put into perspective, and it's like, you broke him. You cucked out the Man of Steel. His wife in front of him, sided with his dad, and broke up a family. And it was at that moment that my heart broke. And when that's when Superman died for me. It's like, you know what? I can't, not anymore. That's why I'm, not, again, stealing another meme, but building my own spaceship. I got my own hero that I'm trying to replace that architect with, because that's, you can't come back from that.
Really.
It was too much, and now it's like Superman doesn't feel wholesome anymore. You don't have Jonathan Kent, which was an amazing addition, by the way, because up until now it's like, Kryptonians and humans could never have children together, blah, 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 blah. But then Jonathan Kent comes around, and he's a nice boy. He's a really cool kid, and especially Super Sons, they had such an amazing dynamic between him and Damian. And now Bendis writes him,
Super Sons.
and now Bendis writes him just like some trash sitcom character, and there's no coming back from that because Bendis does not take the mythos seriously. None of these weirdos do. They don't care. They just don't care.
Is the comics Lex Luthor. He looks just like him from Kingdom Come. Look at the pics of Lex Luthor from Kingdom Come. Looks just like Brian Michael Bendis. And on the same thing, like we were talking about projection, the writers and their projection, right? Think about that. Mark Waid wrote Kingdom Come, right? And one of the surviving metahumans. One of the surviving metahumans in that comic was named Swastika.
I don't remember that part, but it's been a while since I read Kingdom Come. I have it. I just haven't cracked open it in a while.
Well, I'm just giving some odd folklore there, or some odd lore, but yeah, he's one of the only surviving metahumans in the end of that. And that weird Magog guy. Whatever happened to him? Why didn't they ever use that character again?
I think Jeff Johns did in the story Thy Kingdom Come with the Justice Society, but I honestly don't. I haven't read that story.
Well, now, if you look at it and just think to yourself, you know what, maybe this is one of those spin-off universes that DC likes to do, like Injustice or Flashpoint Paradox, where, Superman was kept in a red sunroom for his entire life.
And apparently malnourished.
Yeah. So, maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's all just another universe and the real Superman's fine.
That would involve DC actually acknowledging that what they have is not the legit product, but they won't. And I've mentioned this several times on Twitter about how I went to my first convention, which was Emerald City Comic Con 2013, and I bought a trade of Kingdom Come, and I actually had it signed by Mark Waid. And incidentally enough, this was also the same convention that I actually met Ethan Van Sciver for the first time, and he signed my copy of Green Lantern Rebirth. So that was interesting. Kind of coincidence, foreshadowing as fate would have it. But
that is ironic.
It's like the thing is that Ethan he signed the Green Lantern Rebirth. That was great, but Mark Waid, he became the hero in my mind for years afterward because it's such a small thing, and so many pros do it. It's not so great, but for a young 18-year-old going to his first convention, he's never been to one before. This was like fucking gold. Mark Waid, he wrote a little note. He's like and he wrote my name in there, and he signed it. That felt so good because it felt like acknowledgement. And Mark Waid was my hero for a long time. He was one of my favorite writers. I loved reading his stuff. I felt like when he walked onto the book, okay, now things were going to get real good. And then I hear everything that's happened, all the shit that he's done. And, that's another moment where my heart broke. That's why I realized it's like it's yeah. It's like they say, never meet your icons.
Yeah.
Tom Taylor definitely turned out to be a jerk.
Yeah. I've met a few of these guys, and they're not all of them are bad. I don't have a problem with people having a different political outlook than me. It's just when they get outside of being tolerant of others. I mean, I'm pretty centrist, I'm right leaning, but I'm centrist.
Yeah, same here.
And I mean, I'm like one, on the political compass, I'm like 1 point to the right and like 2 points down towards libertarian. I'm pretty centrist, but I've been called all kinds of names. Well, I've been called all kinds of names, like vindictively, just call me a Nazi, and I'm like, my grandfather fought Nazis. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, that sort of thing. And when people start to discount you, and they talk about the NPC being like, you're unhumaning people, and I'm like, well, when you call somebody something as horrific as a Nazi, or like a racist, I guess, or any like misogynist, like you hate women, you're impersonating somebody. You're saying that they're not of worth because
mostly women. I hate a woman.
or I mean, like, look, I may be sexist. I maybe think that there are roles for men and women, traditionally speaking. Maybe that is sexist, but I don't hate women. I revere and I want to protect them. That's what men do if they're a good man.
Yup.
And then they give you shit for that. You're a chauvinist.
Yeah.
Don't you want me looking out for you and have your back? Don't you want me to have your back? Why would I want you at my back? You might rape me. I'm like, what are you saying to me? I'm a rapist because I'm a man?
It's a paranoid delusion.
That is sexist.
And this has happened to me, and I'm just some regular schmo. I'm a guy that's just trying to do the best I can and be the kindest I can be, and respect people that I meet. And respect is earned, but civility, politeness, and like this seems to go out the window if you disagree with anybody at all in this certain set. Normal people should be able to disagree and still sit down and have a drink together, have some lunch, and be friends, be associates, and work together. Because because everybody does disagree about something. You guys like DC a lot. I'm just like, most DC, I'm like, some of it I like. But you start talking about it, I have no idea of their.
I'm pretty half and half, frankly.
Right, and some people are like that too. But I mean, and there are things that I'm a huge fan of Pitt. There's only like two, like 20 episodes of Pitt, and like a few of these other things. But that Dale Keown's Pitt, I love it. Well, how many people who aren't into the 90s stuff are going to dig that? And they don't have to be. But for me, it's awesome. But the thing is like, if we disagree on that and say, well, that's a toxic male fantasy. Well, first, what?
Oh God, I hate that.
Sorry, I'll be right back.
Masculinity.
All right. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm boring the shit out of you.
I don't know. I actually found all this interesting.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you know Pitt, but he's like an alien human hybrid, right? And he is. He's like a gray skinned alien Hulk with claws and shit. And he's badass, and he wears biker kind of grunts. Yeah, look it up, Pitt. Pitt kicks ass.
Pitt. Wasn't he from Image Comics?
What? Yeah, he started out in Image, and then he went to Dale Keown did his own imprint for a while called Full Bleed. And if I
might have heard of Pitt. I just don't think I've actually read the comics though.
Well, if I could license any property, Pitt would be the first one on the list. If I could get Dale Keown to say, you can play with this character, just give me some residual. I would do that in a minute, because I have so many stories in my head I could do with that character. He did such a cool, iconic thing. It's one of my favorites. But I mean, I talk about
weird ideas about who I want to license.
I mean, everybody has their, the kind of their favorites that they'd like to license, and that's one of my, favorites who I'd do it. If I were to do, if I were to, that's my independent. If I could write any character, you know, when they always say, well, if you wanted to write any character, what would it be? It would be Silver Surfer, Lobo, and Pitt. Those are the ones, and they're all aliens for some reason. So,
you know what? That's it's funny you say that. I had an idea maybe 10 years ago, right? For what if Spider-Man became the Punisher, right? Like, suppose Kingpin found out that, you know, who Spider-Man was, and kidnapped Mary Jane, and then he was like, what am I supposed to do? And there's like, just so happens that he would find Frank Castle, and during the firefight, somehow the Punisher would get killed, and maybe Mary Jane and Spider-Man would just become the Punisher then. But then Marvel did it. Marvel just did the story. And I felt some sort of way. Because I was like, how'd they rip me off? And I never said anything about that to anyone. But I think that's just, you know, that might actually be a good story. So
sure, yeah. I think, I mean, as a what if, it would be great. Or even if they wanted to, I don't know. Spider-Man's a little too iconic right now, but they've kind of devolved.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Like,
yeah, they kind of,
believe it or not, I kind of want to work on a Howard the Duck comic.
That would be fun because you can, like, Howard the Duck, you can kind of go whatever way you want.
Exactly. Howard the Duck is like a surrealist, almost supernatural character. Almost anything could encounter Howard the Duck.
Yeah, he's constantly going through that multiverse.
Cosmic level character.
Yeah. I mean, he'd be a lot of fun to work with. I've always thought. You guys ever seen Howard the Duck, the movie?
Oh, thank God.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I own it on VHS.
What do you think of that movie?
I actually thought it was pretty funny because, I mean, I was a kid. I actually didn't know it was a comic book when I first saw the movie.
Yeah, most people did.
And then when I found out it was a comic, then I was like, oh, I like this movie more.
Well, he
not much like the
I
comic,
didn't like
though.
was the interspecies weirdness with him and Leah Thompson. That was weird. You know, but no, it was okay. Like, they were working with the special effects they had at the time, so it was pretty hokey looking. You know, you want to see something much better. Like
Jim Henson didn't work on that.
Yeah, well, you know, Buckaroo Banzai would have been like these. I wish they'd done like a sequel of that. That's one of my favorites. But whereas like Howard the Duck, it's one of those kind of things you either hate it or you don't. You know, and for me, it's kind of nostalgic because I went and saw it in the theater and my parents were with me, and it has all these dirty jokes in it. And I was just I was like 12 years old, and I was starting to get some of the jokes. And I was like, just like tittering at like the dirty jokes. My mom's like looking at me like, do you know what that means? I'm like, no. She's like, you know what that means, don't you? Yeah.
There's something really weird I've noticed about Marvel, and I'm not talking like modern Marvel, but like Marvel in general. You know something I kind of picked up on? There are not too many notable speedsters in Marvel.
Yeah, now that you think about it. Oh, except Quicksilver.
Yeah, I mean,
Quicksilver and Speed Devil or Speed Demon.
Like two others, but nobody ever talks about them.
Yeah, but it's because both of them are lame.
It's like Speed Demon and like Wizard.
Well, they did the Quicksilver like they did in that X-Men film. That he would have been cool as shit. But
oh man,
they didn't. Then they whacked him in the Marvel universe
for that movie. For those movies.
That's a weird thing. Like, Sony does like the coolest Quicksilver ever, and then like Marvel whacks Quicksilver, and you're like, okay.
That pissed me off. Actually,
I heard that was because
they killed Quicksilver.
I heard that was actually because of a deal that Marvel had with Fox, and just kind of like they kind of split them down the middle. Like, you know, they gave Marvel Scarlet Witch and they let Fox keep Quicksilver. So that's why they killed off Quicksilver in Age of Ultron and they kept Scarlet Witch. And that's why you don't see Scarlet Witch in the X-Men movies.
Now, here's something I've never gone into.
X-Men movies, though.
Are Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, Are they still the children of Magneto, or have they retconned that?
Fuck if I know.
Yeah.
Probably retcon that for the movies, but not for the comics.
Well,
Because,
I doubt.
like,
Shit,
We
that's a
are
good
never going to
question.
hear that they're Magneto's kids in the movies, most likely. Well,
No, that's going to happen. It'll happen. I think they'll figure out the licensing for it, and you'll see it happen.
you know
see,
what?
the thing,
So,
if I were at Marvel right now, if I were Feige, the first thing I would do is I would schedule a Silver Surfer movie. No, I want a silver. I don't want this. I don't want anything on Earth. I want the Silver Surfer like saga with Galactus and all the shit and all the other heralds and like Nova.
Yeah.
I want that.
Fix Galactus.
No
so he's
kidding.
not a
Like,
freaking cloud.
yeah, like, hey, here's cumulonimbulus and with like some lightning.
The
That's
world-eating cloud.
I'm just like, you guys, come on.
It worked out so. I was just gonna say it worked out so well for Parallax in the Green Lantern movie. They did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Where are the space clouds?
Space fart.
I got your space part right here.
Like I said, I'm not a big DC guy, but I remember when I went and saw it, I went and saw it in the theater because I thought, oh, Ryan Reynolds, he's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in there, I was like, is this what I've been missing all this time? Because I'd heard about like what's Van Sciver had done with like the different cores. I thought, well, that'll be cool. And then they kind of like you kind of get a little bit of that, little tiny something of it, but like the rest of it was like, this is just stupid. I couldn't believe it. Like, what?
Well, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, you're absolutely right. And for me, it's like Superman may be my favorite character, but Green Lantern was the first character I actually really started collecting. And the entire Jeff Johns run. And that shit got so epic and legendary. So when they announced the Green Lantern movie, I was so jazzed. And at first, when I first saw it, I thought, oh yeah, that was pretty good. But as time went by, I realized the movie was shit because the script was terrible. I didn't mind the actors. The actors fit. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call Ryan Reynolds the definitive Hal Jordan, but he did all right. He played a very human character, and I can respect that. And Blake Lively, hot as hell. So, that was fine.
Well, they're still married, so,
Yeah, there's that. But everything else about it just is wrong. Parallax.
Well, the thing is, like, it just was his power, like, set, like, always the power of his imagination, as far as where his imagination can go, so he can use the green light to form stuff. And then I'm watching, I'm like, it's just dumb. Like, I was underwhelmed by what they could have done and what they didn't do.
Oh,
and then
it is Hal Jordan, not Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, like I just like okay, and like because I'm not a big Green Lantern, I don't know all the lore. When I was watching, I was like, this. I'm kind of glad I didn't read the comic book, and then I did get into the course. Somebody said, "Look, you read the course, all right?" And then I went and read that. I was like, well, they should have done this. They should have just gone from this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just made an assumption. You do like a quick backstory and then go into this. Because people would have built off that. If you just followed that saga, that would have been awesome. And then, all these cores fighting each other and shit, that would have been cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was there to mine, which is, they had it there to mine and they didn't do it. It's just stupid. Like, I don't understand how these studios can't look at like all these good stories and go, okay, see that one right there? That's a good, we can do a brief, introduction, and then we can go into that. And people will get hooked by that, because if a saga has good sales, it's going to hook people. It just is. It proves its point by being something that has sales. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to something that doesn't. And from the very beginning, I mean, Hal Jordan's character, I've always thought the fact that the green light was Will is weird. I'm like, isn't green like jealousy? Just whatever. But that's just me. But I mean, when we're talking about it, like, what?
I think they were trying to fix the original Green Lantern character, and because they already had the name. They were like, well, what can we do with the Green Lantern? You know, we've got this intellectual property. What can we do with it? So that way we have the Green Lantern name and it's ours, you know.
Well, they start out really off base, then they shifted to a much darker tone because that was a little more cartoony. I'll give it that. It was a little bit more comic book look as opposed to what came after that. But at DC, Warner Brothers, I don't know what they're thinking half the time. Like when they cast like Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Yeah.
I mean, he's cool, right? He looks cool, but he's fucking Lobo. What the hell are you doing?
I think it was because he was on Stargate Atlantis or stuff.
Yeah, but even on Stargate Atlantis, he would have been better as Lobo. He's not a blonde undersea dude. I mean, he'd be better as Namor. Shit, he'd be better as Namor. I mean, if you're gonna go water, guys. But he's Lobo. Like when I see him every time, I'm like, why didn't they do that? Why? I mean, I've seen another one like Jeffrey Dean Anderson.
More like Thor or something.
Yeah, I mean, but I think he'd be perfect like for that. Him or Jeffrey Dean Anderson, like the guy who plays Negan. He'd be another good one.
Yeah. I can totally see that.
I want a Lobo film. There's one I really want. Like, forget all this. Like, forget Superman. I want Lobo. Of course, you know I'm partial.
But give the main man a feature film.
Yeah, I'm like,
give the main man a feature film.
And you don't even have to do his backstory, like him killing all of his other, all other people like him. But just kind of make a reference to it. It's like it was an offhand thing. I killed my planet, but whatever. That's the type of thing that I would enjoy, and the fact that he's like nigh unkillable brings up all kinds of fun things, and the fact that you can do lots of things like Deadpool. You can play with them,
could be the Deadpool of DC.
That's the thing. He was Deadpool before Deadpool was Deadpool.
He was exactly.
He was originally that like comics bad guy or bad good guy that everybody loved.
Yeah,
always had a smart mouth comment, smoking a cigar in your face.
He was the 1%er biker of the DC universe, like this mercenary bounty hunter.
Space.
But he was like, he'd kill you if you annoyed him. But he also had like this weird code of ethics. He's a cool character.
Plus, he did hold out in the fight with Superman.
Yeah, and he's goofy as shit too. At the same time, like there's so much humor in his dark humor in his comics and then they like just totally like made him this in like New 52. I was like, what the hell is this guy? Who is this guy? What did they do? What? Where's my Lobo?
They turned Lobo when it comes to DC Twilight. Jesus.
But here, I'm like in DC, like he was my first character. Then Batman. Batman's just. He's Batman, so
yeah, he's Batman.
And like any other characters are like, and I'm not like really into any other DC characters, but when they did, like, I'd pay money to get one shot at writing a Lobo story. I'd like if DC said, okay, give us $1,000 and we'll let you write like a short. I'd do that. I'd write Lobo in a second. I really would. I'd pay $1,000 to do it if they put it in print for me.
With art by Donald DeLay, of course.
Sure, by Donald DeLay. I said that I wanted Donald DeLay to do Lobo for me, and they said okay. I'd be like, I'll pay you $1,000 right now.
You have a winner.
I'm not going to do 10,000 or anything, but I'd pay him $1,000. I really would. I'd be like, this is, and even if I never got another job, I'd be like, I wrote that story. I wrote that fucking story, and it's in pen. Yeah, you can tell I get excited about things I love. I was talking about Pitt earlier, and that's another one. Like I would beg on my knees Dale Keown for the ability to have that property to play with. I'd beg on my knees. I'd get down and I'd prostrate myself. I'm like, Dale, you're the best artist that ever was. You're better than Jim Lee. You're better than Frank Frazetta. Will you please let me use Pitt just one episode, and to prove to you, please, here, take my first daughter. You know, that's. Anyway, I'm just fucking around. I wouldn't do that for Silver Surfer. I'd really like to do Silver Surfer, but I don't want to fuck with Marvel. These assholes.
No.
And you don't realize how much I used to be a Marvel fanboy. I'd trash talk DC all the time, except for Lobo and Batman. I trash talk him. And who would want we did? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, Marvel is so much better. Today, I'm like, DC. If you really want to have good stories, DC is the place now. Marvel's, it's a swilling septic tank.
It's one of those things that I've always said that I like the characters of Marvel, but I never liked the stories. Again, early 2000s stuff. I never liked them. But the characters
were the ultimate comic.
No, that's the other thing. I love the Ultimates. It's like I was reading Ultimates 2 for the first time in trade form, and then you get to the final fight, and you open up, and there's this giant gatefold spread of the Ultimates fighting against a bunch of horde of demons, and it's like, holy shit, this is great.
I suppose we did get the Avengers because of the Ultimates.
Yeah, I think that in large part the Avengers film took influence from the Ultimates comics, which were pretty damn cool. And especially when you had Captain America kicking alien ass, and he's like, "Do you think this A on my head stands for France?" That
oh Lord, I think that was actually from Civil War. But yeah,
it was from the Ultimates. It was Ultimates 1. That's when he was kicking around one of the Chitauri, and he's like, "Do you think the A on my head stands for France?"
I think they had. Didn't they have like the Ultimates take on Hulk and then raged Hulk in one
I think they did. Yeah, I don't. Oh man, it's been forever since I read the Ultimates, but that one was great because that was when Brian Hitch was still working at Marvel. And, I always considered, like, again, DC, I'm DC fanboy, so I always considered that DC had the top tier in the art department. But then you had Brian Hitch at Marvel, and I don't really care for his new stuff, ironically, but I like the stuff, his work on the Ultimates was really cool. But that is just me.
Oh, I mean, I never got completely into the Ultimates. Again, like, I'm just, if I'm not a. Hey, by the way, hey, look, I got to tell you something off topic. I'm $16 off of $3,000 for Little Girly.
Oh snap!
Yeah, so right on.
Another $16, and I will have 30%. Nice.
All right.
That is wonderful news.
Awesome. Love it. Hopefully you'll.
Trying to. What?
I was just gonna say, hopefully you'll really blow it out of the water if you can get on a stream with Ethan. Holy shit!
Well, I'm trying right now. I mean, he did respond to something I put out there.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But he didn't say anything back to me, and I DM'd him. He didn't give me anything back. So I'll try to keep.
Wait a couple of days. He likes to make you wait.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
then again, he's super busy.
Somebody accused me of sounds like you're demanding from him. I'm like, okay, that's not how it's supposed to be. But I was like, well, thanks for the feedback. Like I said, thanks for the feedback. And I don't want to tell you because I'm not demanding. I can't demand anything from Ethan because Ethan's Ethan. I get on there. I'm not going to be kissing his ass. I'll say that right now.
He's going to ask you. Or he's going to say, "This better not be porn, right?"
I'll say it's erotic, but you'll have to make your decision whether or not you think it's pornographic. Mormon boy who drinks a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. It's funny because Slick, EVS, and I, we're all Mormons.
Yeah,
it's funny.
And so, like he goes, he is obviously not very devout, being Mormon. And even now, that for you guys who aren't Mormon, who are listening and who are on the panel here, The church has just said we can't call ourselves Mormons anymore because of reasons, because the Lord doesn't like it when we don't use his name or something. I don't know. I'm just like, whatever, you know. It's Mormons are weird. Let's put it that way. We're peculiar people.
Yeah.
So
what are we supposed to call ourselves now?
We are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Have you heard of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? We have a great book called the Book of Mormon, you know, or some shit like that.
Wow, that's an awfully long title. And I thought you're
supposed. The literal thing is you're supposed to say, "Yes, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." That's what you're supposed to say. You're not supposed to say you're a saint or a Latter-day Saint or LDS or Mormon, because apparently the Lord is offended by that. After 150 years, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we're Mormons.
Yeah, I'm like, and it's just a weird thing that the new prophet got in, the new president of the church, and that was his declaration, his word from the Lord. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you're joining the offense culture, all right? Then. That was my first reaction. I was like, okay. And like a lot of my family is like, why do you say those things? You know, and I'm like, look, like he's just a man like anybody else. All right. Mm-hmm. If the Lord wants to come down, Jesus wants to come down and come to my house and have some dinner with me and say, I need you to say this. I'd be all right with that. That's Jesus. But this guy, you know, this is a weird thing after a long time. But there was a long time when black people couldn't have the priesthood in our church. And, you know, I personally think that was a bunch of bullshit. I think it was pretty political and pretty culturally bullshit. But they changed that. And, you know, that's a better argument there than this thing. The Book of Mormon has been made into a kind of a blasphemous or vulgar, you know, thing on Broadway, and maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is behind it. But they say the Lord has spoken to the prophet, and I'm like, okay, all right.
It must have been that South Park episode they did where they were making fun of the Mormons.
See, but that South Park episode was a backslap. It was like a backhanded compliment. They said that Mormons are good people. They're just weird, and maybe they built their religion on a falsity. Now that's basically what they're saying. But the kid was bringing all these good things and family values and shit. It was an indictment of good people, which is an odd way of, you know, treating the subject.
Exactly.
But I mean, like, and a lot of times you'll meet Mormons and they will be very devout. They'll be towing the line, and I'm not such a person. I don't know if Ninja is either. But I'm not the type to go out and get in a whole lot of mess anymore. When I was younger, I was. But when I write what I want to write, and if the Lord wants me to stop that, He'll come and tell me. And He hasn't so far. So I treat people with respect and kindness as best I can, and I try to be a good Christian and have some Buddhist ethic as well, because I like Buddhists. Mm-hmm. And if that's a problem, well, you know, and they want to excommunicate me, which they haven't yet, and they haven't seemed to have a problem with me because they seem to like me in my ward. Okay. But I can look at my church and go, there's some weird shit going on sometimes. Yeah, there is. I mean, we had multiple wives for a long time, and, you know, whatever reasoning they gave for that, we had multiple wives for a long time. And then all of a sudden came down the proclamation, you can't have multiple wives anymore. And all of a sudden we became a state. Oh, see how that works?
All right.
Yeah, for real. Right now I'd be in real trouble if the church found out that I was drinking beer and smoking cigarettes and had tattoos and whacked off.
You heathen. How dare you spill this, commit this sin of owning?
I should be excited outside. You heathen.
How dare you? Do you know there's hundreds of millions of potential spirits inside your semen?
Yeah, I do.
I'm joking, because I believe I believe in quite a few ideas about cosmology, and I have my own way of looking at things, and I don't want to impress upon anybody. You have to believe like me. No, it's for me. That's personal. It's my personal relationship with what I believe is God.
Yeah.
And I try to look for truth where I can. And if it deviates, well, what are you going to do from somebody else? I try not to hurt anybody. That's become my general rule. If your religion calls upon you to kill people, to impress upon them how much you were right, that's pretty fucked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we could probably point a finger pretty easily at certain religions that do that in particular, but I'm not going to do that because there's a lot of good people who follow that religion as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, every religion has done some pretty screwed up things, especially the big ones. They just have in the name of their cosmology, in the name of their view of the afterlife or pre-existence or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
If you start doing that to the point of fanaticism, it's the same thing as these assholes right now trying to press upon us how tolerant they are in their totalitarianism. It's the same shit. It's just different labels. And so you got to watch out for that. You got to guard against. You got to be vigilant. You have to fight the good fight, and stand up when you need to stand up. And if it does take arms at some point to defend truth, goodness, you're gonna have to do that. But you gotta fight with everything in to keep it from happening, from keeping dialogue and some sort of understanding before that happens. Because otherwise you're gonna have World War II and World War One, and just World War One is probably the stupidest war ever. World War II made more sense. World War One was just like a domino effect. It was just dumb as shit. Like all these different treaties like enacted and went into effect. And the world descended, well, at least Europe for the most part, descended into chaos because some fucking guy got killed. That's how it started. Have you guys ever looked into it?
Yeah,
it's the dumbest shit in the world.
He was just some asshat was assassinated.
Yeah, so the Archduke Ferdinand got killed by some guy, some anarchist, and then this a series of events ended up with millions of people dying over some dumb fucking shit. It was the dumbest war. And the only thing that came out of it basically is monarchies basically collapsed. The big empires just, And so I guess in one way that's a good thing. But then right out of it, because things cocked up right out of the Treaty of Versailles, you had the fomenting of the Third Reich right there. And then so another massively devastating war came out of just one motherfucker getting killed. It's really, if you look at it, the chain of events, one motherfucker got killed. One dumbass decided to assassinate some duke, and millions of people died because people scrambled for ideology after that war. They didn't have the monarchy to prop up, like the aristocracy wasn't there pretty much anymore. And so everybody was scrambling for ideas. And the biggest one that kind of came out of that was socialism. And everybody, they ignore the fact that the Nazis were socialists. They're just national socialists as opposed to international socialists. No, they're right wing, blah, 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 blah. They're socialists. Marxism in its core is detrimental to humanity. And it's utopian horseshit that people look at like a religion, and then that religion becomes as deadly as Catholicism and Islam and any of the Eastern religions have fought wars over. It's literally far more deadly. It's just ridiculous, and people still they adhere to it. Like you did it wrong the first time, the second time, the freaking 40th time, and now what do you have? You have another example right now in Venezuela. Do we want our country like that? Oh yes, that'd be great. Sorry, went off on a tangent.
That's all right, my man.
I'm gonna have to let you guys go. I have family to put to bed, and you're wonderful.
Right.
We had a great conversation, and I know that we kind of rambled around and stuff, but
I really
slick.
Enjoyed it. I have to say, you made my first guest live stream just that much better. I wasn't expecting to have so many guests. So I mean, thanks for showing up.
Well,
and you want to pitch anything real quick? You want to give another pitch for Little Girl Lethal before you head out?
Well, if anybody out there wants to go out and get to my IndieGoGo, it's Little Girl Lethal. and we are right now just under $3,000. You can come and see me and talk to me and give me shit and give me praise or whatever you want to do on Slick Jimmy Love at Slick Jimmy Love on Twitter. And then occasionally I put up a video on YouTube at Slick Jimmy Speaks, where you get to hear more of my palaver and my bullshit, which I have a lot of. And I really appreciate it. And I want you guys to go out and not just sub to me if you can, or follow me on Twitter, but follow Whiskey Paint. He is an amazing talent that most of the Western world does not know about, and I want them to know about it. I want them to revere the fact that he's as good as any artist today, and he can compete with anybody at the big two. So go and follow him. And I think he has a channel, but he hasn't put much up online on YouTube. But give him some love. Tell him how much you think he's awesome. And if anybody out there hears that, please do that. Thanks.
Thanks for coming on, Jim.
Yeah, good talking with you, man.
It's good to meet you.
Nice meeting you, man.
Stefan and Norman, I really appreciate you guys. Stefan, I can't very much quiz you on what you're doing, but whatever it is, I have success, and hit me up if you need any support on any projects. All right.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, thank you.
You too, Norman. All right, I'll see you guys, and have a great night. Appreciate your time.
Catch you later.
All right, you take care.
Later.
Man.
Yeah, and I gotta buzz out too. I got work tomorrow. So it was great talking with you, Ninja. You too, Stefan.
And once again, thanks for showing up. And it really is excellent. This is like it's so super cool to me that you guys would show up and chat it up and get to know each other better. I mean, this is what comics is all about, and making things better for everyone.
Well, it's also interestingly enough, this live stream has actually made me more productive on the secret project. So, I appreciate inviting me on and shooting the shit with you guys. So I will catch you on the flip side.
All right.
Later.
Much love, bro.
Much love.
All right. Keep on cracking.
All right, bro. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. Is there anything you wanted to pitch or say that you might be working on? Anything? Because, it's getting pretty late over here. It's 1:30 where I'm at in the AM.
36 over here. Also, well, let's
go for it.
Well, as you know, I do have the XL Gar Riser from Henshin Hero Riser. Still try to map out everything now that Mecca's informed me about the whole mind map. I think I'll give that a try, see if I can string together. But in the meantime, I have been sort of working on a pseudo space arc for the Riser. Kind of takes place just after his major conflict with Dread has initially ended.
Ah, cool. Awesome.
Another day, another major threat.
That's how comics work. That's what makes them great. I am your friendly neighborhood ninja. I'll be doing the Ash Can for Sporkman Goes to Japan. You can find that on IndieGoGo. I am not the original artist of Sporkman. I'm only doing the Ash Can, and I'm just a massive supporter of Sporkman and the Revengers. And we are working to make comics great again. That's about it. Much love to everybody who showed up this evening. And I guess we'll catch you guys later.
All right. Hasta la vista, y'all. Later days.
Good night.